Just hang tight, everybody. We're still waiting for Glenn to get in. Still waiting for Glenn to get in here, and that way we got a moderator. I don't like doing debates without moderators. A bad idea. And he just popped in. I see Logan Daly is in the chat complaining that he got timed out last night. So, I guess, Mod, you're going to have to time his ass out again. Time him out again so that he remembers that the reason we do that is because it's fucking hilarious. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Crucible. I'm your host, Andrew Wilson, though tonight, host I will not be. Instead, I will be a good old run-of-the-mill blood sport debater. Glenn Lawrence has very kindly agreed to come on and moderate this debate between myself and RC. Should be interesting. Hopefully it's productive. We'll see how it goes. Okay, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's get moving here. One second.
Yeah, you connected to the trend.
Thanks, Pops.
Is this yours or is that coming out of my back?
That came out of your back.
All right, guys. How are we doing tonight? Everybody doing well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, good.
All right, great. So I just kind of dive right into this. If both of you guys are ready, whenever you want to give your opening statement on this RC, you got 7 minutes on the clock.
Cool.
Go ahead.
So I'm just going to keep this as much to the point and concise as I can. So yeah, I do have an issue with these Red Pill podcasts. I have an issue with Red Pill in general. I'm a Christian first before anything. So my opening statement is really the Red Pill podcasts, such as the Whatever podcast, which is the one in question today, are exploitative and destructive in nature. They advertise porn stars and promiscuous women as the thumbnails to every upload and plug their social media accounts in the bio of every video. The women don't go on the show to debate. They go on there for attention and clout. The show is masqueraded as a debate, but in reality, it's an OnlyFans ad agency. I'll concede that, yeah, there's some utility in going on these shows to combat these feminist ideologies. However, that utility is immediately lost when you advertise the very thing that you claim to be against. The equivalent would be as though a podcast that claimed to be anti-drugs brought drug dealers onto the show, put the picture of the product, the drug, as the thumbnail to every episode, and plug the drug dealer's address in the bio of every video so all the people watching know where to go and buy the product. My argument is we should combat the modernity of feminist ideologies without advertising their product, which in this case is their body. Young men should instead turn to Christ and stay away from engaging with Red Pill podcasts and Red Pill ideologies. The real solution and simple call to action is for men as a collective to turn away from porn, cease engaging with thirst trap content online, cease engaging in hookup culture, turn to God, and date with the intention of marriage. And this is not a surprise from the Christian worldview, which I believe that we share. The Red Pill podcasts in this business for the same reason for the women that they bring on, attention and money. As a Christian, the only reason we should go on the show is to hold the Red Pill hosts accountable for the degeneracy that they are engaging in by profiting off of being an OF ad agency by exploiting the pain of their male audience. Red Pill podcasts have taken a number of traditional biblical principles and twisted them for their selfish desire to guide men into a life of worshiping money and sex.
All right, Andrew, do you want to go ahead and use your opener?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for the opening statement. Glad I got your kind of positions down here. So let me respond. I didn't know for sure what my opponent's criticisms were going to be just yet. I have ascertained a bit of information via DMs, so let me go over his arguments as I understand them. One, his first argument seemed to be to point to the fact that going on whatever was problematic, as everything that has needed to be said has been said, whatever the fuck that means. I don't know what that means. I find this argument amusing, though, as if you can't go to this guy's Instagram like he's saying something that's super new that other larger content creators than himself have already said they have. So I'll assume he's just confused about that argument, too. His second argument points out that girls engaged in sex work can and do gain some of the whatever audience to then subscribe to their sex channels. I don't dispute that this is true. I just don't particularly care. The types of men who are watching whatever and would subscribe to OnlyFans prostitution were likely already subscribed to OnlyFans prostitution. It seems reasonable to me that if invited on to provide pushback to their various claims, that is more effective than pretending that whatever is cranking out simps. Brian seems to mostly be against the modernity of dating and prostitution, though he doesn't have as hard a line of a stance as I do, but he allows pushback for everybody, including the the guests which are on his show. His third argument makes no sense to me at all. My opponent seems to think that ignoring this problem makes it go away, but it doesn't make it go away. Pushback and resistance make it go away. I think it's important we be present in all places the degens are to take on their worldviews. His final argument is that I need to attack or go after Brian, though that doesn't make any sense either. Why would I destroy my opportunity to engage on the platform where I can reach hundreds of thousands of people with a better message? Not to mention, Brian brings up valid and interesting arguments, which I often agree with. We may not align 100%, but we don't need to, as reaching the audience is my objective, not reaching fucking Brian. He starts his claims as well by saying he's against feminist ideology, but I did go and review a debate that he had with Destiny where he claimed that feminism is an antidote to what he considers toxic patriarchy. I'm not sure that that's in line with any Christian worldview that I'm aware of, but I'm happy to take that topic on as well. Lastly, the only reason to go on the show is to go after the hosts he claims. That seems stupid to me. I think it would be far better to utilize the platform of the host in order to move a message to hundreds of thousands of people who you would not normally have access to. That's a far wiser strategy for spreading the message. And I'm assuming that we agree on a lot of this message, and so what we have is a differing of tactics. However, it's insane to me that he also wanted to go on the Whatever podcast himself, which is odd, I would assume, because he wants hundreds of thousands of people to hear his message as well. So with that, I'll yield the rest of my time, and I'm happy to get into this.
All right, RC. Would you like to respond?
Well, we're just gonna go open from here. Yep, open dialogue from here. Go ahead, RC.
So to address, you brought up a number of points. To address your last point, I didn't shy away from the fact that I said as a Christian, you can go on the podcast to call out what Red Pill is doing wrong. Yes, I did ask to go onto the Whatever podcast.
Yeah, what about the things that they're doing right? Can you agree with the things that they're doing right while simultaneously calling out the things that are wrong?
So, I'm addressing what you'd said, right? So in May of 2023, I did ask the Whatever podcast, and I DM'd Brian privately asking if I can go on the show so I can call out Red Pill. I was very clear with why my intention is to go onto the show. Mm-hmm. And Brian went on to block me because he said, I'm afraid to bring you on because you're going to speak disparagingly to the women, as though he doesn't do that with every episode, and every male guest he has on does the same thing. And he blocked me, which is very telling, because what are you afraid of?
Well, now hang on. Let's get into this first. So that's a Reader's Digest version, but my understanding from having read the DMs that you posted in the Discord was that you were being very agitating towards Brian. And if I was running a show and you were being agitating towards me while you were trying to come on my show, what do you think my reaction would be?
How am I agitating towards Brian when I said, I want to go on your show to call out Red Pill? If that's agitating to him, then that's very telling what his position is.
But what he said is that he wanted to have a more calm, collected conversation, and he was worried that your over-the-top approach would not be good for his platform. Now, it is his platform. We can agree that it's his platform, whether you like how it's run or not. It seems silly to me that you would be agitating towards this guy and then expect that he would have you on.
Right. So would you agree that this Red Pill podcast is advertising these OnlyFans women?
I don't think that they're specifically advertising them, but I think that they allow the OnlyFans women to advertise themselves, yes.
They're putting them they're using their sexually suggestive photos as the thumbnail to every video they put up. How is that not direct advertising?
Yeah, so that's how the women show up.
They ask and they use provocative images of those women. They don't have to use those images as the thumbnail to their video.
So what? That's what these women themselves, what they're showing. The best disinfectant is sunlight. So adding sunlight to what these women are, I think, is the best things you can possibly do, which would include
show their sexually suggestive
which
content.
Would include these disgusting poses. Well, here's the thing. They go on the show looking like this. Why would the thumbnail somehow be worse than how they show up to the show?
because you don't have to put that as a thumbnail. It's an intentional clickbait.
Yeah, you
so
don't
they can
have to let them
exploit their
show
male
up like
audience.
that to the show, but they want to show up like that to the show. And the reason that they do is because they want to be as provocative as possible for attention. But I think that that's in many ways good for our side because it shows a ray of sunlight on what's going on here, that women will dress this way in order to go into a live studio in order to promote this type of degeneracy. Again, I think the best disinfectant is sunlight.
But you don't promote them by advertising the picture as the thumbnail. You don't have to do that, and they intentionally do it to clickbait.
Well, let us
You know that.
let us assume for a moment that I just concede the point, and I say, you're right. They really shouldn't use the sexually provocative thumbnail. So what? It's not our platform. It's not your platform. It's not my platform. Our job is to provide necessary pushback to ideological worldviews that we disagree with. You would agree that that's true. If you're saying that this guy is running this as a business and making money, I don't disagree that he is doing so. And I don't disagree that people love controversy, and I don't disagree that part of that controversy can make people money. What I do disagree with is that whether or not this guy is advertising this from a thumbnail perspective, okay, in order to be as provocative as possible to get the most amount of views as possible, that also puts the most amount of views on my message.
So you also in the DMs mentioned that, sure, it's okay that he plugs their social media accounts in the bio of the video because that's the price to admission.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. This is what they're asking him to do. If he's willing to link a Christian nationalist bio down there, right, which is just as polarizing as an OnlyFans girl, why should he then not link hers as well? Just because you fucking disagree, right? Because you just disagree with that side of it. But that side of it hates our asses. They fucking hate us. So he's willing to put our bios in there too.
So he's against Christian nationalism? Or is he against the OnlyFans degenerate feminist ideologies?
Well, I'm not sure what his exact ideology is on this. It seems to be that there's a mixture.
He claims to be Christian.
Well, he doesn't really. He claims that he's not a practicing Christian.
Well, he's claimed to, well, then he does flip-flop a lot, but he has openly admitted that he said that he's Christian. But regardless, he's very clearly advertising them. They come on to be advertised. They wouldn't go on if
I go on to be
medias weren't
advertised.
plugged.
What's your point?
Yeah, we all do things for attention. What type of attention are you looking for
Yeah,
when you
I'm
go
looking
on? What type
for,
of attention are they
I'm
looking for when they go on?
I understand that they're looking for the same kind of counter attention to what I'm looking for. I want to draw attention to my message, and they're trying to draw attention to their OnlyFans. It would actually be a far harder pitch for him to sell that he's only going to link the people in the bio who he agrees with. I don't agree with you, and I'm still going to link you in the bio. Is that okay?
But the problem is his whole show is against their promiscuous ideology, and he's advertising it. Figuratively speaking.
He's also
he is a virtual
advertising
porn
my
star.
ideology.
But you're not porn starring yourself.
Yeah,
You're not a
so
porn
what you're
star.
really saying is that it's okay for him to do the thing that you agree with ideologically, not okay for him to do the thing that you don't agree with ideologically. Ideologically,
No, I didn't-
it's okay
no,
for him
it's
to
not what I
promote
said.
me. It's just not okay for him to promote the other side. In the spirit of fairness, you would, if you have a contentious channel like this where people are in consistent arguments and you have polarizing personalities, it seems completely reasonable to me that the people who go on in order to do that show would want whatever it is that they want advertised. While I agree it's disgusting, right, I think that engaging with their ideology is still extremely important.
But that's the whole point, is engaging with their ideology. So he is promoting them by allowing them on the platform to debate, but they don't go on there to debate.
would be
They only
promoting
go on
you.
to advertise their social
No,
media.
they do go on to debate, and I've had
No, they don't
many
care about the
engagements and debates with them.
The end of the day, they don't care if they win or lose. They care to promote and advertise their sexual content.
It could be possible that their alternative motivation is that they don't give a shit how they do inside of these different debates. I can even concede that that's true, and it just doesn't hurt my position because it still exposes this rotten ideology, and I get hundreds upon hundreds of DMs from the whatever audience themselves, personally from them. I saw you on whatever. You've completely brought me out of this darkness, or I saw you on whatever. Thank you so much for for having any kind of ideological pushback to this. Even if Brian himself was guilty of doing all the things that you claim he's guilty of doing, you would still want to have a person like me there to ideologically push back against their worldview.
And what are you saying any different than every other person that's gone on to contend them?
What are you saying any different than everything else which is on your Instagram than other creators who have said the exact same fucking thing?
Do I plug their social media? Do I plug their social media?
Yeah, but the argument is still the same. You're claiming here, this is argument 2 that you made. What are you saying any different than other people who've been on there? Well, clearly I must be saying a lot that's different, because the first time many people have ever heard the message at all. And the DMs would seem to prove that that's true. 2, there's also a delivery system. And a delivery system is important. And perhaps my delivery system is so polarizing that it draws attention to the message. So just because I may say things that other people have said before me on that broadcast, it doesn't mean that they resonate with people.
All right. So you do debate red pill guys on your own platform, do you not?
And on whatever, correct.
But you do hold those guys accountable on your own platform.
Yeah, I engage with their ideology on this platform. That's correct.
So
and I also put, hang on, I also put their links in the description. Am I doing something wrong?
But they're not promoting.
Oh no, they are.
Content.
Oh yes, they are. I've had
DGens.
I've had fucking DGens on this platform, right? Who not only have participated in pornography themselves and have talked about it and have talked about it openly. Okay, because I want to engage with their ideology. It's fucking important.
You're a Christian. Why would you advertise pornography?
You're not listen, so that you understand. If somebody goes down and they watch this entire debate and they click the link because they want to go watch this guy's pornography, they were going to go watch pornography anyway. They were going to be doing that shit anyway. Nobody's ever going to come to one of these debates and go, wow, well, this red pill guy or this prostitute made such a great point, I just can't help but go now and watch their pornography. That's insanity. They were already fucking degens to begin with, right? You're just upset at the way in which it's filtered. They're still going to go find that stuff if they want to find it.
No, you just don't engage with it. You do not continue to go on there and promote their social media accounts. You don't. You stop short of that because you should be a Christian first.
Yeah, that's right. I should stop the message to hundreds of thousands of people because your comfortability at the fact that people request that their links when they go on to have their ideology confronted be linked out for them. That seems stupid to me. When you did a debate with Destiny put your link down in the bio. Did you call Destiny and chastise him for putting your link in the bio, even though he promoted something he clearly didn't agree with?
How is that at all the same thing?
Answer my question. Did you answer my question? Did you call Destiny and ask him to remove your bio from him promoting it? He's a fucking degen. He was in an open marriage. He's done horrible fucking things. Why would you allow your name to be posted on that channel? Why?
Why don't you show where he plugged me?
He put your links down. This is in the Destiny clips. Yeah, he put your link in the bio, and not only that, you announced what your name was live on the broadcast. That is a form of promotion, and you promoted yourself on a degenerate's channel. How dare you? What sort of Christian psychopath are you?
So he promoted my link, which I was unaware of. Did not go on the show to have my link promoted. It's not the reason I went onto the show. These OnlyFans girls go on the show.
What did you go on the show for?
To stand for truth.
That's right. You went on the DGens platform in order to stand for truth, and clearly you thought it was worth it to do so. So what the fuck could your criticism of me possibly be when you did the exact same thing?
No, because you're going on a show that's literally an open OnlyFans ad agency.
So is Destiny. Destiny is one of the biggest promoters of sex work that I've ever seen in my life. He thinks it's absolutely fine. Well, and you were all over that platform, and he didn't give a fuck.
And I debated against it, but he's
That's right, the same shit that I do. You debated against it just like me.
He's not an OnlyFans girl. And he doesn't have a plethora of...
No, it's worse. It's worse. He's done, literally, this guy has had sex with tons of women who have OnlyFans profiles. He's had sex with tons of sex workers by his own admission. He was in an open marriage with his own wife. I think that the prostitutes on OnlyFans are probably better.
Yeah, but in the example you're trying to bring up in this gotcha, I debated against the host. You agree with the host of the whatever podcast.
I debate with the host too. The last episode, I just debated with him on his worldview of marriage, literally on his podcast.
Have you ever live on the podcast asked him, if you're against these OnlyFans women, why do you plug their social media accounts?
No, I don't need to ask him an obvious question. I know what the answer is. Why would I ask him something I know the answer to? It's the same reason. It's the same reason you went on Destiny's program. The reason, because I'm giving you a parallel example where you yourself will go on Degenerate's platform in order to debate their ideology. I do the exact same thing.
To stand against him. I'm not standing.
And what do you think I'm doing? What do you think I'm doing? I'm standing against their ideology across the board, regardless of alignment. How am I in alignment?
When you go on there, the majority of the time you're debating against the women or you're debating against Brian.
And how would that be alignment?
Because you're bringing up Destiny, and the entire time I debated against Destiny.
So what? The entire time I debate against any points which are made that I disagree with, regardless of who they're from. Doesn't matter if they're from Brian. It doesn't matter if they're from the women. It wouldn't matter if it was from you. It wouldn't matter who it's from. And I don't care. These massive platforms that have hundreds of thousands of viewers, your tactic is suicide for us. Your tactic of staying away because you're concerned about the promotion of degeneracy in society is exactly what happened in the early Bloodsport debate era. Let me explain this to you so that you understand, and maybe this will help change your worldview. Early conservatism on YouTube all fell on their sword to do the exact same thing you're talking about. Oh, this is against TOS. We're going to violate the TOS on purpose so that they have to deplatform us. That'll teach them a lesson. They all got deplatformed, and all that happened was the degeneracy ran wild with no fucking check at all. Like a firestorm through the internet. The communists got popular. The leftists got popular. You know who didn't get fucking popular? The right-wingers who got thrown the fuck off the platform. They went off to have stellar career-ending careers. Okay, I mean, that's what happened. Their careers ended. And it's because they had the same type of mentality that you have. You need to be where these people are, and you need to be fighting the good fight, not going, oh my, I can't believe that an OnlyFans girl would dress provocative. Yeah, we know what they are. We know what they are. Your mission is to reach out to the hundreds of thousands of viewers, not to hold your pearls at a fucking thumbnail. That's insane.
So if you have asked the question to a red pill guy that came on your platform, which is what is different with red pill than feminism? Have you ever asked that to Brian?
Yeah.
You asked that live on the podcast to Brian?
Yeah, I've made that point several times on the podcast.
And what does he say?
Well, the ideological distinction they're not quite sure about. Then you have to get into the definitions of feminism. On that particular show, the topics move fluidly very quickly. So I only get a couple of minutes to engage before you're moving on to the next person. If I remember the engagement correctly, he said that the descriptors, he agreed with me that the descriptors themselves were actually fairly good from the red pill side, which I agree with, but he didn't like the prescriptors, which I also don't like.
Right. In your analogy, when you're saying that these conservatives were purposely breaking TOS and trying to paint the analogy, that's what I'm doing by saying don't even engage with these debates. I'm saying engage with the debates, but don't go on a show that openly promotes those women in the thumbnail.
Well, then you're not going to be going on any shows because they all promote degeneracy.
I'm a Christian.
They all promote degeneracy, all of them.
Okay. So
Destiny's show promotes degeneracy. Vosh's show promotes degeneracy. Not So Erudite show promotes degeneracy. All of the leftists that you would be engaging with in order to reach their audience with your worldview all promote fucking degeneracy. And some of them by a huge overage scale of anything whatever podcast has ever done and have been more influential in pushing that narrative through argumentation than any type of parading a half-naked woman through the streets would ever do.
Right. You're right. Destiny promotes degeneracy. So what did I do? I combated him. Brian from the Whatever podcast, he promotes degeneracy. Guess what? I wanted to go and debate him, and he blocked me.
So he didn't want to debate you. I'm debating you.
Because I'm going to hurt his business model.
Well, maybe that's true, right? But maybe it would have been far more effective for you to follow the rules of the program so that you could reach the hundreds of thousands of people in the audience like I did.
No, because I'm a Christian first, and I'm not going to sell
Christianity is not for you to hold your fucking pearls while the degens run wild. That's insane. That's this type of lukewarm bullshit I had to deal with from those chicks on that podcast. You saw it yourself, right? Where they did the exact same thing. These chicks rode hundreds of penises, and suddenly you say the word penis, and I can't believe you use such language. You're an adult man. You're a grown human being. You know exactly what's going on here, and you have a duty and a mission to engage.
Yeah, but I'm not going to engage if they're going to continue to promote them in the social media.
Why not?
Because they're an OnlyFans ad agency.
Yes, so what? All you need to do is be so over the top powerful in your argumentation that you can take viewers away from that. That's all you need to do. All you need to do is engage. That's it.
All you need to do, since you go with Brian all the time, is tell him stop promoting their social media accounts. Would you do that? Would you be willing to tell Brian to stop promoting their social media?
It's not my fucking show.
But you go on there and you're in alignment with him, debating against them like you're a team together.
Then couldn't the other side tell him to not promote mine?
Not promote yours, but why would they not promote
Again,
yours?
answer my question. Couldn't the other side make the exact same argument? Why are you promoting this right-wing lunatic all over your fucking program?
Sure, they could make the
So
argument.
the only way then for it to be a fair platform where both sides can be equally represented is if you represent both of them correctly, which would include adding both of their links. You may not like that, but if you want yourself to be represented, then you have to make an allowance for the other side to be represented, like I'm doing with you right now.
Right. But I don't care if you post my link or not. It's cool that we can have this discussion. It's cool if he can have the discussion with the women that go on. He doesn't have to promote their social media account. Are you saying that's the only way they'd be willing to go on is to be advertised?
Yes.
No, so there's no women that would be willing to go on to debate against you or Brian unless they were promoted and advertised.
Yeah, I think that's a good standard operating procedure to give incentive for these women who are already engaged in that work. A link on whatever is not going to suddenly change their future. Okay. However, if you're going to make an argument here, then you still need to contend with the one I just made to you, which is the other side can easily push for the same exact kind of deplatforming you're talking about towards our side. And say we do not deserve to be represented on these programs on a dating podcast. And they can be far more convincing than we can in the current degenerate society. The only way that you're ever going to have a fair shake and a fair debate is if you allow fairness on the platform. That would include putting the links in that you don't agree with. This is an unfortunate truth of life.
So, Andrew, if the whatever podcast said you can come on, I'm just not going to plug your social media accounts, you're not going to go on?
No, I wouldn't go on. That would seem like it was completely unfair, and that now you're stacking the deck against me. Why that would be absurd.
For truth, you're still speaking truth to hundreds of thousands of people.
Yes, but that would be an indication that there would be a deck stacking effect, which was going on instead of a fair across the board effect. And in order for you to reach people in a debate, you have to have an equal playing field. Or else you can't do it. Otherwise, what you end up with is you end up either getting dogpiled or trolled or any number of different things due to the lack of fairness which is happening on the platform.
But if the show's the exact same way, and he said from this point forward, I'm not plugging anybody's social media accounts anymore, you still wouldn't go on?
Well, that's a different question. Now you asked if he said he's not going to plug anybody's. Well, that would seem to indicate some sort of fairness, but I think that it would still eliminate a lot of the incentive for people to go on for you to be able to tangle with their ideology. So let me ask you this question back to test your logic here. Assume for a second whatever reached out to you and said that they wanted to set up a debate between yourself and Destiny on their program. And they're going to put in Destiny's links and your links. Would you go on?
Does Destiny have an OnlyFans account?
Probably.
Does he have an OnlyFans
I don't
account?
know. Does he need to?
If he does,
He's a mass promoter of degeneracy either way.
That's his ideology.
Yeah, that's right.
But does he have an OnlyFans?
It doesn't matter if he...
It does, that's my contention. That's my contention.
Your contention then makes no sense. Your contention should be the pushing of degeneracy is bad. I agree the pushing of degeneracy is bad. OnlyFans is only one form of the push of degeneracy and hardly the most effective. And so again, would you go on to debate Destiny if there was a link in Destiny to Destiny and a link to you, which was provided by whatever? Answer the question.
If he has an OnlyFans, then no, I'm not.
No, I didn't say if he had an OnlyFans. I said right now.
That's my contention.
Yeah,
though. How are you going to tell me?
So
what my
then answer the
contention is?
question with a yes or no. Would you right this second do that?
If he has an OnlyFans, no. I'm being clear. Because that's my contention with
Bro,
you. is
I'm
they're
not
promoting
asking
their
you about
OnlyFans.
fucking OnlyFans. Let me try again.
Okay.
Let me
My
hang on. Let me
contention-
try again. Let me try again.
I'm not answering a loaded question.
It's not loaded. Can you explain what's loaded about the question? In fact,
My-
can you steel man the question?
my point.
No, steel man the question.
No, I'm not.
You're not. Yeah, well, it's loaded, and you can't steel man it, even though it's loaded, huh?
Right. I'm not gonna. You're not gonna force me to ask a question or answer a question that you're loading to me. I told you my point of
You
contention.
just won't answer the question because you
I
know
will go
you know
on.
it's hypocritical. You know it's
No, 'cause I-
hypocritical.
No, it's not.
It
because
is.
My whole point is that they promote their OnlyFans accounts. That's my point of contention.
Okay, well, what if they didn't promote their OnlyFans account? They promoted their Bunny Ranch account.
I don't even understand that question.
They're part of a prostitution ring in Nevada called the Bunny Ranch, like a gal was the other night.
Then I'm not going on.
Why not? It's not an OnlyFans account. That's super weird. I thought
It's a
your
s-
only contention was with OnlyFans.
The sexuality links, the links that are going to their sexual images and their sexual videos.
Oh, you mean like what Destiny has, sexual images all over the internet, and on top of that, he himself promotes this exact form of degeneracy.
has a link
So
to
pretty
sex-
pleased with sugar on top. Now you can see that it's not a loaded question. So if it were true that the Whatever podcast reached out to you and asked you if you would come on and debate with Destiny live on their platform, they were going to put your links in and Destiny's. Would you do it or not?
If he has sexual links, no. That's my whole point.
Oh, but if he just promotes that this type of thing is fine, that's okay.
I'm not against free speech. He can say whatever he wants
Well,
to say.
is OnlyFans free speech?
No, it's pornography.
Well, it's been ruled as being free speech.
Ruled by who? The government?
Yeah.
Yeah, the left-wing government.
Well,
The
who else is going to rule?
Well,
Who else is going to rule on what a right is or isn't? You?
God. As a Christian,
Oh,
God
God.
rules all the rights.
So now you
Aren't
think? So now you think there are rights? There are inherent rights. Can you point one out to
Yes.
me? Where are they?
not killing the commandments in the Bible? Are you not a Christian?
I'm sorry. That sounds like a duty. Can you point out one of the rights?
How do you define a right?
A right would be an entitlement absent duty.
According to who?
According to, it would be definitionally this way. Can you, unless you can point to me a right which was not an entitlement, I'll wait.
The commandments are eternal rights and wrongs.
Well, that's a moral claim. That's fine. You can make a moral claim for whether it's right or wrong, but that doesn't mean that there are rights, which is a different thing than the nomenclature of right. Like right turn, that right is different than right, like inherent right. You would agree with that, right?
I would agree. Those two terms are different.
Right.
Yeah.
So it would be the same thing in this case. When you're talking about inherent rights, right? Which right is inherent?
I would say that aligns with morality. I don't see how you're discerning between the two of those.
Yeah, morality is not a right.
Morality determines what's right or wrong, and what
Yes,
your
it determines what is right or wrong, but does not determine that there is a right to anything.
All right, I don't see how you're defining differently the right of morality and the right as inherent rights. I
Okay,
don't understand.
well let's try this, okay? When you make a moral claim, do you point to God as being the justifier of the moral claim?
Of course.
Of course. So, when you talk about a right or an entitlement which comes from God, can you point one of those out to me?
Don't kill.
That's not a right.
Okay.
How would that be a right? That would be how would that be a right? You can be killed. Hang on.
You tell me.
You can be killed, right? So you have a duty not to kill.
Correct.
Okay, so that's not a right. That's a duty.
Sure. You're playing semantics.
Well, semantics are important when you're doing a debate. This way,
Yeah,
we
and
are very clear on what it is that we're talking about. Now,
What do you
I
think
don't
were
mean,
rights-
listen, we got sidetracked. I agree with that, but I'm trying to make a point and draw it back in, which is this, that it seems to me that if you're only making the claim that your entire thing, no, it's only against OnlyFans. No, wait, I was funning. It's actually against all sex work of any kind. Oh, no, I was funning about that too. It's actually against all promiscuity. Where do you draw the line? Destiny's a homosexual, promotes homosexuality. Are you saying that OnlyFans a greater sin than that? Because that would be insane. And yet, I think you would go on and do a debate with him tomorrow on the Whatever podcast, even if they put his link in the bio. And that seems very hypocritical to me, and I really would wish that you would justify this.
As long as there's no sexual links, I'll go on. That's been my position from the beginning.
Yeah, but why? Degeneracy is degeneracy, regardless.
I'm for free speech. I'm against pornography. I don't think pornography is free speech, no matter who says it is.
Yeah, but who are you to make that determination?
How is pornography free speech?
How's homosexuality and the expression thereof free speech?
Homosexuality is a sexuality. It has nothing to do with speech.
It doesn't have anything to do with speech?
Homosexuality has to do with speech?
Yes. Well, the First Amendment's not just about speech, right? The First Amendment is about freedom of expression, and this is how it's ruled, correct? So gay marriage in church is part of a First Amendment adherence platform. So when you're talking about degeneracy, homosexuality is every bit as degenerate as OnlyFans from your own worldview. And this guy has literally said on stream that he sucks men's dicks. And you would go on and debate with him? Really? That's where we draw the line? At least he doesn't have booby pics. I know he sucks men's cocks, but at least he doesn't have booby pics. That's fucking stupid, bro.
Listen, I'm not here to like talk behind another man's back because I'm a grown man. I'm just here to criticize.
I'm not saying anything which is not publicly available knowledge that he himself put out. Destiny has an entire stream about how he sucks men's dicks.
I don't care.
Okay, I know you don't, but here's the thing. Are you here to talk behind women's backs? Like, you don't know if they have an OnlyFans or not until they come out and tell you that they do. And that's when you give them ideological pushback. Same as if they were a homosexual.
Your OnlyFans, whatever sexual content you have, we're not promoting it, but you're more than welcome to come on and stand for your worldview.
Yeah, but you would be promoting... whatever would still be promoting the platform of pro-homosexuality, pro-degeneracy, even absent the OnlyFans. So why do you draw this arbitrary line between that form of degeneracy and this other one? That makes no sense.
One has a link directly to their sexual content, and one is something they're just saying.
Both have a link. Both have a link. The ideology is the link to the sexual content. You cannot push the two aside.
In my opening statement, I was clear. You can debate these people so long as they don't promote their sexual links, which is creating simps to go and funnel them to their account. You know that. You know that's the only reason.
Yeah, it creates simps the opposite direction too, to funnel them towards the ChristCon position as well. And the thing is that we need that. We need that desperately because we have too many weenies who are so concerned about the pearl clutching aspect of the types of degeneracy in which they will, degenerates in which they will or will not engage with. I would say that Destiny's message has been far more damaging to the Christian right and has been far more pushing of moral degeneracy on society than anything any one of these OnlyFans girls you can point to has been.
So talk against it.
I do talk against all of it, but I'm uniform about it. I talk about all of it. I don't draw an arbitrary line down the middle and say, as long as you got your tits sheathed, you can go ahead and promote OnlyFans girls. That's crazy.
No, it's not crazy. It's Christian. And if you think being Christian
That's not Christian.
Crazy,
what's Christian about that? What's Christian about only drawing the line at, oh, you showed your boobs versus you're promoting LGBTQ? Why would that be the delineation point?
I can't control the way they go and be dressed on the show. I'm not saying that let me finish though. Okay. I'm not controlling the way they dress on the show. They can dress however they want on the show. What I'm against is them promoting their social media accounts filled with their promiscuity and their sexual links. I'm not going to bring my audience of followers to be engaged with
but this is an arbitrary standard which you have made up as headcanon in your own brain. They're all promoting degeneracy across the board. Whether they're promoting their OnlyFans or they're promoting the destructive ideology of progressivism, which embraces the exact policies which lead to these OnlyFans girls being able to exist at all. This is the problem. Why do you draw the line in an arbitrary fashion?
I don't think drawing the line of saying, hey, I don't want to advertise their sexual content is a bad line to draw as a Christian. I'm willing to engage in a debate with them. And you don't if you want to take my social media link out of the bio too, I don't care.
Okay.
I'm here to stand against their ideology.
Well, let me help you out with one last thing, which I've been saving for you, right? Kind of the coup de grace. Brian does not add any of their OnlyFans in their bios, only their Instagrams. This entire time, you've been fucking arguing about something with 5 minutes of research you could have learned that he does not link to any of the pornography sites at all, you fucking idiot.
Why are you insulting me?
Because, well, no. That's not a personal insult.
You called me an idiot.
No, an idiot is not a personal insult if the person is being a fucking idiot. In this case, that was really stupid, man. In 5 minutes, hang on, in 5 minutes, you could have made this determination. He never links to any of their OnlyFans, and he never links to any of this stuff, and yet you've made a fool out of yourself for the last 45 minutes, making these bold claims. I was able to debunk them even if it were true, and then, okay, then prove it.
By plugging their Instagram accounts, where's their link? Where do you find
so now it's not.
Links?
So now,
where do you find?
So let me get this right.
In the bio of Instagram.
So let me get this right. Now we're going to change the goalposts. And if you move towards Instagram, where there could be some links in the Instagram, then this would include all leftists who give any links at all whatsoever to any women's Instagrams whatsoever, which lead back to OnlyFans whatsoever. And you are willing to debate. Nope, it's the same process.
No, it's not.
How is it not?
Because if the woman goes on there and you click on her Instagram link and the first thing you see are a bunch of sexually suggestive photos, and then boom, you have an OnlyFans link, you're promoting that.
And how would this be different than you going on Destiny's program where he puts the Instagram link down below, which then would lead to a woman's Instagram page, which then would link to her OnlyFans? How is there any distinction at all?
What woman's page is linked in his bio?
Oh, there's tons. He has tons of female guests on all the time. So does Vosh, and they will put the links down.
In the episode with me, he's linking other females' accounts.
Let's assume for a second.
The episode with me, you
even if in the episode with you he did not. Let's assume in the episode with Brian does not. But he will continue to do so after this episode with you. Your position was you still would not go on. So, therefore, if we follow the same logic with Destiny or these leftists, you should not go on their platform if they ever do it.
All right. Well, then I'll say this. I'll concede a bit. I would go on for one episode to the whatever. Like, I've already openly admitted that I messaged the whatever. I'll go on for one episode, swivel my chair like no man is willing to do, and call out Brian for being an OnlyFans ad agent, figurative porn star by bringing them on. I'll call him out. He's going to kick me off the show because he's a coward. And he will not debate that.
No, you could go. He doesn't need to. You go on the show and I'll debate it with you like I am right now. Your facts are screwed up. You didn't do even the basic amount of research which was required for you to even make these kinds of insane claims that they're linking to OnlyFans girls and pornography accounts. They most certainly are not. They link to their Instagram accounts. Somehow you still consider him to be liable for what the girls link in their own social media accounts to their other proxies. But that would be true of any show you went on ever. Any type of degeneracy ever where they put any link in the account to a degenerate, which led to another link, right? You would have to bite the bullet on all of that.
It's interesting you're like defending this as a Christian. It's interesting.
It's interesting that you have no argument.
I have an argument.
What is it?
Just don't plug their social media accounts because you know that their OnlyFans links is plugged in the social media account.
Right. Just don't promote their social media account is your answer to it. So I'll make sure that I don't support your or don't put in your social media account. Would that make you feel better? That doesn't seem stupid to you?
Am I promoting sexually?
I think you're promoting something that may be even worse than the degeneracy, which is to not engage with the degenerates unless it's on some arbitrary term basis that you come up as headcanon. You should go. You want to go where the drunks are. You want to go where the prostitutes are. You want to go where the degenerates are. If you want to convert degeneracy or degenerates, that's where you have to go. And I'm sorry that it's unpleasant. I'm sorry it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable. It sucks. Okay? It can drive you fucking crazy. But bro, here's my lifeline to you. We need you. Like, we really need your help. And we need you to not grab your fucking pearls, right, and cry about some links to some fucking bitches' Instagram accounts. Who gives a shit? We need you there engaging with them. We need you there beating the hell out of them right alongside of us. That's what we need.
When he stops advertising their sexually suggestive photos as the thumbnails to his videos, he doesn't have to do that. He's advertising them. Bro. It looks like an OnlyFans intro video. That's what it looks like.
Bro, he also will pull up their Instagram accounts. right? And expose the fact that many of them will consider themselves Christians or tradcons, and then based on the way that they look inside of those photographs, he gives you empirical truths that they cannot be those things. But the best way to demonstrate that is through those photographs. And I'm sure you have no problem with that, right?
I've done that.
Right,
You know the
right. You've done that. You're promoting degeneracy.
No, tell the difference. I cross out their name so no one knows who they are. And I don't show their link, and I don't show any of it.
They're in the room. So if you were going to confront one of these people directly, even if you cross their name out, we know who the fuck it is, bro.
How do you know if you don't?
Because they're in the room when you're confronting them with the evidence.
You don't let them say their social media account. You cross it out.
And then what happens if they're just in the show and they go, oh, by the way, you can catch me on Instagram at blah, blah, blah.
You blur it out. They have the technology.
They're live, bro. They're live.
Then I don't know.
You're right. You don't know.
Ability to mute. They can't mute things on live TV. I've seen people mute things.
Bro,
on live
you got
TV.
it. You have a 6-second delay. You're going to miss a lot of shit. And not only that, let me point out this other thing, which is that you have no problem with this social shaming. But if you have a person who's in the room with you, and you're literally pointing it out to their face rather than behind their back, which I'm guessing is what most of your exposés are, right? They're doing it to their face and showing it. You think people can't make the connection that that chick and her Instagram belongs to that face when you're in the room with the chick?
How are people watching the video or watching the live stream gonna find her if they don't know her Instagram name?
Man, are you serious? You think that it's hard when a chick who says, my name is fucking Rose Sapphire, to find her on Instagram, bro? Really?
Obviously, if she says her name, but you got to be able to stop her from being able. You got to mute that.
So you want the other side to go in. Let me get this right, to a dating talk podcast where they're going to be talking about relationship issues from a adversarial standpoint, and they're not allowed to say their name. They're not allowed to talk about any of. Just like anything that could possibly lead back to whatever their Instagram is, which isn't even a pornography page, because it could possibly have a link to a pornography page. This is your standard.
Yeah. So if you said, sure, you can say your first name and her name is Rose, and the hundreds of millions of women named Rose, how are they going to find her or her OnlyFans?
Bro, if you're the type of person who's going to subscribe to that kind of pornography to begin with, right? I don't think that the girl not saying what her name is when it's pointed out what her social media is, that the person who wants to fap to that is going to suddenly be deterred.
Okay, if someone is such a psychopath weirdo that they somehow use, I don't know what technology to find it, then I guess that's an extreme minority. But
Wouldn't you consider all of these men who subscribe to all of these OnlyFans pornography girls to be psychopathic weirdos? Because to begin with, the type of man who would subscribe to a woman masturbating on a webcam for sexual gratification, I would consider to be a fucking weirdo to begin with.
I agree with you.
Then I don't see what the deterrent is here, bro.
You're making it too easy by just plugging their Instagram account. It's too easy.
It's too easy.
It's just an easy. Is it not?
You need to put more barriers in to make sure it's as unfair as possible, so that you can't even have the women come in to have the adversarial conversation to reach the hundreds of thousands of people.
How is it unfair if they're allowed to go on and debate their ideology? How is that unfair?
They're going on to debate their ideology. They want to be recognized for it, just like the other people who are debating against it, because that's how you can move your message over to a mass group of people.
Again, if you think that they're really going on there for a good faith debate to push their ideology, and that's more of the reason, and it's not so that they can get the attention that they're desperately seeking on their sexual content, I think you're being naive.
But you can make that argument for almost everybody who engages in that kind of content across the board, whether they have pornography as their standard or not. I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption that you would like your Instagram to grow, and I sure hope it does. I liked a lot of your messaging. I thought it was pretty good, right? I hope it grows to a gazillion fucking subs and you make $1 jillion. Okay, I hope. But the only way you're going to be able to do that is if people put in reciprocal link over to you. You do podcasts with people in order to get your message out there so that you can build an audience to take your message to the masses. That's how it's done. And you do not have a better way to do this. And if you do, I'd love to hear it.
Well, the majority of those girls that go on have like maybe 2,000 followers, if that, on Instagram, and they're there for the sole reason of guys paying for their OnlyFans subscription.
Sometimes I don't disagree that sometimes that's the case, just like when the leftists go on and they only have a few thousand subscribers and they want to promote their degenerate messaging, that they want their link in there to promote their arbitrary degenerate messaging as well. Same thing when Christian nationalists go on there, when Christians go on there, when everybody goes on there, they're trying to push their messaging across the board so that they can build an audience to move their message out into the mainstream. You cannot say that you can make an equal playing field where you can have these ideological engagements, but only one side can promote their value structure. That's crazy.
They're promoting their value structure by the words they're saying. You don't have to show and give a link to easily get access to their porn
Fine.
account.
Then I want you to take all your links down everywhere with any leftist that you've ever engaged with ever, because there's a potential that it might lead back some way to an OnlyFans account, and let's see how fast you grow your fucking channel to get your message out there.
How many left-wing people have I even debated besides Destiny who I spoke against? I wasn't. It would be a hypocrite if I went on the whatever podcast and was agreeing with Brian just to debate the women. That would be hypocritical. If I go on his podcast and I say to Brian, "You are engaging with this degenerate culture by promoting these women," that's not the same thing.
No, listen. The other side can easily make the case that you, and they have done this successfully to many right-wing creators, and I'm sure that you've had bans on other platforms due to this, due to leftists in force coming out and saying that your ideology is radical, they don't agree with it, and they want it completely removed from the ethos. And I'm sure that you don't agree that that should be the case. If you want to have engagement and you want to have good faith interactions with interlocutors where you can reach hundreds of thousands of people, then you're going to have to allow the same rules to be applied across the board, even with the worldviews that you don't agree with, or you're never going to be able to have the engagements that you need to have. And that's how you're going to bring the most amount of people to our side. You are a skilled orator. You're a skilled content creator. We fucking need you. We need you on all of these platforms at all times, bringing as many people to our side as possible without driving yourself down on your own sword, because that's insane.
But you see, I try to remain principled. And when I even called out the hypocrisy—
you're not devaluing your principles, bro.
Right, I get it. But what I'm saying is I've crossed out their names. I didn't make it easy. Sure, there are some weirdo guys that are going to be so hyper-focused. I'm going to find her no matter what. Sure, that's a risk involved. But still, I didn't make it easy. It took 2 seconds to cross their name.
Yeah, but you are running a different type of content as well. The content that you're running is to ridicule the opposition. The opposition is not there to defend themselves. Very easy to do that. However, if the opposition were willing to come and engage with you in good faith, you're going to have equal terms, or it's not going to be good faith. Period.
Okay. I mean, I respect your view. I just don't agree that plugging their social media account is necessary. If they have sexual content.
Plugging your social media account's not necessary. But the thing is that if you want to give representation to both sides who are coming on to a platform to debate their ideologies and to discuss their ideological differences, and you want to reach the most amount of people, you're going to have to make it at least somewhat fair for both sides to make those engagements. You do not do that. Instead, you ridicule these people where they have no option to defend themselves. However, if they had the guts to come on and defend themselves, if they were willing to engage with you, why wouldn't you put their link in the bio so you can have more of those engagements to reach the most amount of people? You want their audience to come check you out. You want their people to see you. You want their people to come over to your channel to hear the alternative message. You want that shit. In fact, one of the biggest things which was happening last year all over Twitch poll, which is where this degeneracy all is that these people all over left-wing media were saying that you cannot platform Christians at all because of this very effect, that people would leave Twitch poll and go check out their channels and they wouldn't come back. And it's like, bro, you want that. Okay? You want that. That's part of equal representation. As a speech advocate, I don't even see how you can make the argument against that.
Well, because I would say, sure, I'd want that. It's a temptation. Let's say there was a huge OnlyFans model that was a huge feminist and she had 8 million followers. and she was willing to debate me, and it was going to give me a lot of clout. You're right. I would want that, but I'm a Christian first, and I'm not going to give in to that.
You're not violating your principles. Because all things which are evil, God uses for good. Okay? And you going on to a massive platform that has millions of people who are subscribed to a single OnlyFans woman, right? They're not going to unsubscribe because you're not there. They're going to unsubscribe because you are. And you're not violating a single principle or Christian ethic by doing so. In fact, you're reinforcing what I want to see the most from Christians, which is balls. You're going right into the fucking lion's den, and you're doing battle. And that's where we need you, bro.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm just standing firm. If there's sexual explicit content is there, you know what they want. You know what those women want. They want attention on their sexually suggestive photos. They want validation, and they want subscribers to their OnlyFans. And I'm not going to give that to them. And I think if all men as a collective did what I'm saying, they would be in a drought.
I know what they want, but men are collectively not going to do this. And the same simps who would be going and subscribing to these women's OnlyFans accounts are already subscribed to other women's OnlyFans accounts or pornography, unless they're a very small minority. You have a better chance of utilizing their much larger audience and reach of reaching those people and pulling them out of that than they do capturing your audience. They're not going to capture your audience. No fucking way. No fucking way they're going to do that. You're going to be able to capture some of theirs, though. You're going to be able to win the hearts and minds. That's what it's about. And we need you. We need you. We need all of you to help us in this endeavor, because it's one of the most noble endeavors we can really commit ourselves to. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we need you to walk right into the fucking lion's den with your sword and put that motherfucker down. We need that shit. Not sniping them from your channel, right, in an echo chamber, but to their faces, right in their face. This is the truth. Fucking deal with it. That's what we need. Now, I understand that you say collectively there's a possibility that if all men retracted all support from this, it would end tomorrow. You're right. In a hypothetical perfect world, I agree with you. But we're not living in that world. And when we apply this to the real world, we know what a fucking simp is, and we know that porn addicts are not going to just suddenly flee because there's no pushback. They're going to flee if there is.
So do you think if the Whatever podcast, instead of putting the thumbnails that they put something that just displayed what that episode was about without showing their sexual explicit images, you think they would lose followers and lose views?
I think that they may, but let us assume for a second that it brings in the most amount of clicks. Okay, even from Christians, it brings in the most amount of clicks. Okay, you still have the most opportunity to reach the most amount of degenerates with that. You really do. You have the most amount of opportunity to reach the other side. Your audience is not going to be captured by the degenerates, but you can capture them. And what I see this as a distinction in approach. I understand that you're trying to stand on principle. It's respectable when people try to stand on principle. But here's the thing. There's a lot of Japanese men who committed seppuku because they were standing on principle. And it would have been way better to have had them go into battle. It may have turned the tide many times. One of the biggest problems in World War II was seppuku and kamikaze pilots, too willing to be too self-destructive to be able to be effective in their job of defeating the enemy. And that's what we need you for. We need you to do that.
If you said, you've been saying that if I were to go onto one of their platforms and their links are displayed for their sexual content, they're not going to win any of my followers. I think that is absolutely untrue. I think there's a number of my followers. First of all, when I speak against Red Pill, when I speak pro-God, I lose thousands of followers. I lost one time 4,000 followers in a week when I spoke against Red Pill and I spoke for God. A lot of the guys in this space, whether it's the Red Pill space, the manosphere in general, are hurt men that were either hurt from dating or hurt from the education system, social media, society, you name it. And they have pain and they're looking for a solution, but they like to watch people like me dunk on the feminist ideologies. And they're like, oh, I feel a sense of retribution. Finally, thank you. But the moment I give them a call to action, stop watching porn, stop engaging with thirst trap content, and date with the intention of marriage, I get unfollowed. So a lot of my followers actually would give in to that temptation and click the link and follow them. Unfortunately.
Yeah, but so wait a second. I need you to think about what you're saying, though. You're saying that even if you cover these issues, they're going to unsubscribe from you, which would indicate to me that they're already engaged in those activities to begin with.
So why would I make it? I mean, I don't know. Probably. Most likely they are engaged.
I mean,
with
probably.
It. I'm still against
so that's
it,
what I'm
though.
saying. I understand that you're against it, but where can you capture the most amount of these people? It's going to be on the largest platform you can get on. And when you're on that large platform, it's to make an argument, and the most brutal arguments you can, to completely destroy the opposition's worldview so you can pull the most amount of people out.
I mean, you say that you think it doesn't break this Christian filter. I think it does. I think it absolutely
But how does it break the filter? Like,
because
do you
I'm
think that
bringing
you're
my audience.
do you think that you're suddenly unprincipled because you're willing to go engage them on their own turf? Because you're willing to expose people to what is truly going on? You think that? I mean, first of all, don't assume for a second that your audience is so stupid they don't understand that there's half-naked women all over the place and that there's clickbait all over the place for those half-naked women. They know that just fine. Your job and duty is to go into those dens of iniquity and do battle, not to clutch your pearls and say we're never going to engage. That's crazy.
I said I would want to go on the show, except I'm just what every other guy that goes on there and craps on the women. That's an easy dunk. Oh, I think being an OnlyFans model is more important than being a lawyer. Wow, that's a hard thing to debate. Instead, I'm going to go into the Lion's Den, fly to Los Angeles, go to the Whatever podcast and ask Brian, why don't you stop promoting them in your pictures and stop giving their social media accounts in the bio? Stop doing that.
Yeah,
Stop.
you can, you can, but it's strange to me. Why would you want to go out of your way to agitate a host that brings the majority of this to light? If you look at the Whatever podcast clips, they're 99% negative towards these women. And if you look at the hundreds of thousands and millions of comments they get within the engagement, you can see that that really resonates with a lot of young men. The first thing you have to do to bring people to Christianity, as you know, is defeat their current ideology before you can replace it. It seems to me that there's one of two ways people come to Christianity. One, the world destroys their ideology. Shit that is so fucking bad happens to them over an elongated period of time that it crushes their worldview, and they turn to God for salvation. The second is that their ideology is crushed by somebody else, and then they turn to God from that. I think that both methodologies are perfectly acceptable. Either God's going to bring them to you or you're going to bring them around, right? But our mission remains the same. And I think that it's important for us to go where these people are and engage. And it doesn't seem like it would do anything for me to tell Brian what he's supposed to do or not do on his show that I'm allowed to go on and debate my ideology on in front of tens of thousands of people and pull the maximum amount of them out.
I mean, you have no problem telling other red pill guys.
Telling them what?
You have no problem confronting them and going down the list of all the things you disagree with them on.
Yeah.
And you're very shy to do.
Yeah, no, I'm not shy about it at all. Can you point out a time where I've told red pillars that they're not allowed to put provocative thumbnails up? Because it's never happened. Or reciprocal links in the bio? Because that's never happened either. I want my links in their bio. I want people to click on my name and come hear an alternative message. I fucking want that. And I'm so confident in my ability to retain the audience I have with the message that I have, that I don't even care about putting theirs up because I don't feel like they can defeat my ideology.
I think if anybody that's listening to this objectively just goes onto the Whatever podcast, clicks on their channel and just looks at the first 10 thumbnails, they'll see, oh, they're obviously advertising these OnlyFans promiscuous women. It's obvious. Just, you don't even have to watch the video. Just look at the thumbnails. They make it so obvious. So no, I don't think that's a place for a Christian to go.
Yeah, but
No,
you were saying initially that they were linking off to these pornography sites, and none of that was even true. So
they're
the thing
linking
is,
to their Instagrams, which link to their pornography sites.
some
Come
of
on.
them do, some of them may not. Hard to say.
Come on.
But the thing
Where do you
is
find OnlyFans
again,
links?
if we're back to the promotion of X thing being bad, just remember that that's going to go across the board for everybody. They also think you're bad. They also think you're evil. They also want you deplatformed and destroyed. And you want the maximum amount of people to come to your side. That's going to require reciprocation, whether you like it or not. And the thing is, in this adversarial relationship, to some degree, we have to work with the degens to reach the degens. We don't have a choice. They own everything, bro. They own it all.
No, you don't negotiate with God and the devil. No,
You're not negotiating with the devil.
You said you have to work with them. You have to negotiate with these people.
To a degree, you have to work with Destiny to go on his show. Yeah, to go on his show, you had to work with him. I'm sorry.
to speak against him.
Yeah, but
I've already
right,
said
but so you had to
speak
work.
against
So you had to work with the devil to go against the devil. That's crazy.
How am I working with the devil?
How are you not? If you go on his show, he's sending you links. You're setting up times. You're working with him.
I'm going against their ideology.
Yes, that's right. You're going against their ideology while working towards going on their show, which is a great promotion for their show. You, my friend, are called content. You're called content. He used you for content to promote his own ideology, to promote his own agenda. He used you. You were working with the D-Gen, whether you want to believe that you were or not. You were. How were you not? They used you for content.
If I'm against him, pushing back on him, I'm not working with him.
Yeah, okay. If the D-Gen is utilizing you for content to promote their message, okay, and you're going along with it, yes, you're working with them. What I'm saying is that you have to work within the confines of the system you find yourself in order to reform it. This would be no different than if you were wrongfully imprisoned. If you're wrongfully imprisoned, I'm sure that you would do things like hunger strikes and all sorts of things which work within the system, the confines of the system, in order to convert the system over time. This is exactly what we see biblically with the process of economia, which starts with you understanding that various cultures are going to have very anti-Christian movements and very anti-Christian methodologies. And you work within those cultures to over time subvert them. That's what they did. That's what all the apostles did. All of them worked within the cultures that they found themselves in order to subvert them. Every single one of them.
Well, I'm not going to get off into a religious debate because that requires its own debate in and of itself.
No, I understand that, but I'm just making the point. That is true, right?
I think there's some truth to that, but obviously it's contextual. I will say, though, because this has been said a few times, I just checked that Destiny debate that was on his last night on Destiny account, and no, I was not plugged in there. Maybe there's clips of me somewhere on YouTube that they plugged me. My name wasn't said in the title, and I wasn't plugged.
No, you plugged yourself while you were there.
My link wasn't plugged.
No, but you plugged yourself, which is the exact same thing you're asking that these women do, which would lead to the exact same effect, which is that people would find you through that.
I mean, sure, but even if I could go back and he said, I don't want you to link yourself, I don't want you to say your name, easily, I won't. I still want to stand for what's true, though. Nobody has to know what I am.
But you can do both.
I'm still reaching his audience. I don't care if people
But you can reach him, but I want you to reach the most audience that you possibly can. No, you're not. You're curtailing yourself for no good reason. Just because you refuse to acknowledge that this is the material reality. I want you to walk right into the whorehouse. And you don't need to go over and tell the brothel owner, hey, man, right, what you're doing here, it's fucked up and I hate your guts, because he's never going to let you go back in to preach to the women, right? You have to start from where you're at. This is the culture you find yourself in. You were born into it just like I was. There's not a damn thing you can do about it except work within the confines to reform it and subvert it. And I hope that you think about that in the future as you go through this, because we could really use your help. And I think most Christians, right? You seem like you're a talented guy. You make good content, right? We could use you. So many Christians could use your help, and they already have an audience, but they need to know how to reach other audiences. And the way to do that is to get mass platformed across the board, so you can reach out to as many as you possibly can.
I think that's self-serving. I think if
it is self-serving, that's what it is. It's not antithetical to Christianity to be self-serving about Christianity. That's what you're serving. You're serving the maximum reformation of people you possibly can.
Oh, that's quite the mental gymnastics.
How?
Right there. Because if I don't get my platform plugged, but I still get to speak to that audience and speak truth to that audience, I'm still helping them. They don't need to follow me for me to feel successful in that.
Yeah, debate. But what if they want to follow up? They have tons of questions. They want to hear more about what it is that you're talking about. They want to know more about what it is that you're discussing. They want to go through an entire back catalog of all RC content so that they can see exactly what your mindset and worldview is that so impressed them. Don't you want to offer that to them?
There's obviously utility there, sure.
That's my whole point.
I'm not going to deny there's utility there, but still, to compare my link to a woman that just wants men to subscribe to her OnlyFans account is like, I get what you're saying. I understand that there's an analogy here, but it's not one and the same. It's really not.
Look, I'm
because
not
those-
saying there's
It's really not.
saying
because-
there's nothing we can ever point to that's going to be 100% analogous with something else, right? We're
Fair
drawing
enough,
an
sure.
analogy because apples and oranges are different, but they're still fruits. So we're trying to compare something that's similar enough. And what I'm saying is that it's similar enough that when a leftist degen goes on, who has a massive audience, who created the material conditions for things like sex work and OnlyFans to have the legalization it does today anyway, I consider that a worse societal ill than even the promotion of the sex workers themselves. Because the societal conditions are put in place by these leftist progressives to begin with. And nobody seems to have a problem putting reciprocal links in with them whatsoever, because for some reason, as long as they wear dorky fucking glasses and use sophisticated words, we're supposed to consider them academics and not the true threat. And I think that that's insane.
I want to go back to your analogy of the brothel, right? Because you're saying that, I mean, obviously it's an analogy painting back to the whatever podcast. You want to go into these spaces so you can speak truth to those women on there.
No.
And sure, they might have their link account.
No.
No?
Hang on. Let me make sure something is clarified. I
Sure.
don't give a fuck if the women walk away not having cared about a single word that I said. I don't give a shit. I'm not trying to reach them at all. I'm trying to reach the hundreds of thousands of people who will watch the clips and who will view the episode and who will view other people who are reviewing the episode and who will be reviewing other people who review the reviewer who reviewed the episode and the thousands of people on Twitter who will fight over the breakfast question. Those are the people I want to get at. I don't give a shit, ultimately, about whether or not I can reform a prostitute on whatever. It's
Well,
not that is not my ultimate goal.
Well, Jesus is our
It would be a
example.
nice side effect. It would be a great side effect. Okay? But it's not my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is to reach as many people as I possibly can. If they're closed off, it doesn't make their arguments better, it makes them worse. And it makes it easier for me to convert more people to my side of the aisle.
Well, Jesus' goal was to reform those prostitutes so they could go forward and sin no
Well,
more.
I'm saying
That
that if that's a side effect of what happens, it would be great. Okay, if they reformed, I would love that. That's great, but that's not my primary motivation. That would be a secondary, ancillary motivation. I'm trying to reach the most amount of people I can with a Christian message, the same way that you would agree the apostles tried to do the exact same thing, reach the most. That's why they went to all four corners of the world. That way they could get their message out to all four corners of it. So the point here is not necessarily to reform the girl. That's a really hard endeavor. I think that would require somebody far more sophisticated than myself when it comes to theology to do. However, I feel my arguments are very sealed and tight and very easy for hundreds of thousands of people to see. And once they see them, that can be very helpful for them.
Everything you said, I don't mind. You can go and hold them accountable for the audience that's watching so that they can see a discrepancy of their worldview versus your worldview. And but again, I'm still standing firm. Their social media accounts are still tagged, and I don't think that's necessary.
Well, I think that it's a matter
on
of
the
pride
front
at this
of it.
point for why you're standing firm, because
No, it's not.
your argument does not stand against mine. Mine's clearly superior. And
According to who?
Man, listen. If
According to
we
you?
were to break it down, you have given multiple hypocrisies, even including the linked area and your delineation point for what you consider to be appropriate degeneracy to promote is simply arbitrary. It's simply arbitrary. There's no way around that. I am not giving you an arbitrary standard. I'm giving you a definitive standard. I want to reach the most amount of people possible for the message of Orthodox Christianity. I don't know what your brand of Christianity is. That is not
Jesus Christ.
Well, they're right. It's not my goal to show them whatever your brand of Christianity is. It's to take
Jesus
them
Christ,
to what I consider
not-
the true church. But I still would rather see them move towards whatever it is that you're promoting than what these fucking leftists are promoting. And I think you're good at it. You're a skilled orator. You're a skilled content creator. So, like,
I mean,
don't let
I-
pride hold you to this principle. You can reform it tomorrow. Nobody would even hold it against you. Nobody would even hold it against you, and you would end up with a more massive following, where you could hit these people even harder. And that seems way wiser.
I think you're going on there, and you've already admitted that you wouldn't go on there if your account wasn't tagged. I think you're doing it for clout. I think you're going on there for clout.
Yeah,
And
of
I
course.
think that you don't.
Yeah, I want the. Yeah, but what am I using the clout for?
For you've already admitted self-serving.
No. When I said self-serving, I gave you a qualifier. What was the
You
qualifier?
said self-serving for Christianity,
Yes.
but that's antithetical.
It's not
There's no self-serving
antithetical.
for Christianity.
No, so Christianity for you is also self-serving. It does serve you, yes, and you're a servant of it. But to say that
No,
it's
I serve
insane
God.
that I know that you
Christianity doesn't serve
I
me.
know that you serve God. I get it. What I'm talking about when I say the words self-serving, right, is that it aligns with my agenda to reach the most
Your
amount of
agenda.
people with
Your
a Christian
agenda, not
message.
God's agenda. See, that's the difference. I'm going on.
How's
God's
God going to
agenda.
execute his agenda? Is he going to do it through you?
He's going to do it through whoever.
Yeah, and why? But it just can't. But wait, it just can't be me,
It can be you, but you're already saying it's self-serving for you.
bro. You're misconstruing on purpose.
That's what you
You're
said.
misconstruing what I said on purpose.
I
I
wanna
said it's
clarify,
self-serving to my agenda to reach out to as many people with a Christian message as possible.
You're saying self-serving to my agenda. No, you should be serving God.
I am
not for
serving
your
God.
agenda.
Can you tell me how I'm not?
You said I'm self-serving for my agenda. Those are your words.
Oh my God. Okay. I
That's
think
what you said.
I think that God wants me and wants you to go out and make disciples of the nation. When I say the word self-serving, I'm saying that you're serving this agenda. Yes, you can strategize still and be tactical. Yes, you can still have an agenda which is serving the greater good here. And it's like, I don't know why you don't get that. You seem to be caught up on me just saying self-serving, like I don't have an agenda. I do have an agenda, and you have an agenda. And I hope that to see more of your agenda come to fruition.
If you prayed to God and he made it very clear, he closed the doors and he said, he does not want you to go on to that podcast for the reasons that I'm stating. Would you agree with his guidance?
Yeah. Why would
Have
that
you
even
asked-
be a question?
Have you asked if this is the place for you to God?
Yeah, and you know what? He came down on white horses and he was like, no, don't do it. This is an insane question. I pray constantly. And no, I've heard no counter message to this, right? I don't see what it is that I'm doing which is incorrect or antithetical to Christian ethics, right? You asking me this question of, did you pray and what did God tell you, right? It has no bearing on anything that we're even talking about.
It does, because we're both Christian.
What does that
should be
have
the first
to,
thing we do.
bro? What does that have to do with anything? The fact that I pray and didn't get a response, that I didn't see a vision
So
of
you
God
didn't get a
who told me to go on whatever podcast. I don't know what the machinations of God are. Okay, I don't know what the total plan of the Lord God is.
So he makes it obvious to you through dreams, visions, thoughts that he presses on you. You know this. I mean,
man.
if you've studied, is that not true?
No, I think that you don't know how to make a delineation between what could be spirit presenting itself as being God. How would you know the distinction if you have no ecclesiastical authority to test the spirit?
You look at the fruits of that spirit and you see if it's a Holy
Yeah.
Spirit or if it's a
Well, I see the fruits of a spirit who's in front of me who wants to make sure that I'm mitigated from reaching the max amount of people with Jesus Christ's message. So are you a good or a bad spirit? And
I'm saying, brother-
who can we have to arbitrate whether that's true or false?
All I'm saying is ask God if this is the right platform for you to go on. That's what we should do first as Christians for anything we do.
And did God tell you not to go on the platform?
It's very clear. Yeah.
When did he say that? Do you have a date?
Well,
that
I'll give you
seems-
an example.
Hang
I'll
on,
give you
hang
an
on.
example. I'll
God
give you
gave
an-
you revelation. Can you give me
Right.
the date he gave you the revelation that you're not to
I
go on
never
the
got
platform?
invited onto the show. I was never invited.
That was
If I
God.
were to get in,
Not
are you making fun of this? Like,
yeah,
you're a
yeah,
Christian.
I
It
am
sounds like
making
you're
fun of this.
talking-
This is insane. You're saying
insane.
that because you
Being
weren't
a Christian is
invited.
insane.
I didn't say being Christian's insane. I
You're
said that
saying
you
that
whatever
being-
your version of because Brian didn't invite you on, that was God's plan. I think that was just you being a stupid ass and being way too aggressive with a person whose show you wanted to go on.
Well,
I think
maybe
God
I'm not
sat
like
that
you.
one out.
Right. Maybe I'm not like you and I'm not self-serving and I want to serve God's agenda, not my personal agenda. It's a big difference.
You do want to serve your personal agenda.
No, I don't. How are you going to tell me? I want to serve God's agenda.
You want to serve
I was
God's
inv-
agenda?
Yeah, I do. I was
Okay.
invited to the Pierce
So
Morgan
then-
show,
so then-
and God made it very clear to
So
not go
so let me
on to
ask
that
you this,
show.
right?
I decided to not
There's
go on
nothing
to
there's nothing self-serving about what you're doing.
How is it self-serving?
Do you make any money on Instagram?
No, zero. And zero on TikTok as well.
Yeah,
and I
if
had
you-
over 300,000.
Yeah, if you
on
can,
TikTok.
will you?
No.
Why not?
I've been approached, I'm not going to say the organization, but I've been approached by an organization that will pay you X amount per video. And I said, no.
Yeah, why not?
Because I'm not in it for the money.
Yeah,
I'm
but
in
what,
it-
what if you were getting paid and through this you were getting promoted so that you can bring a message to more people?
Let's say a company were to come to me and say, we're going to pay you $250,000 for 5 years to work for us. I'm going to take every penny and donate it to the church.
Okay, got it. But wouldn't it be, how would you pay your bills?
I have other sources of income.
Yeah, but
I
let's
don't
say you
do this
didn't.
for
Let's
this.
say you didn't. Let's say part of the contract was that you had to do the contract. Would you take money then?
If it's going to serve me, no, I'm doing this to serve God.
Okay, what about this?
I'm not
Let's
playing
assume
what
for a
about.
second you
I'm
got.
not doing what
No,
about.
I'm just going to
You're
ask one
talking
last
about-
question. Let's assume for a second that you got extremely famous and you made millions of dollars. Would you give all of it away, or would you keep $1 million?
If I made any penny off of what I'm doing, speaking on these messages, I'd give every penny of it away.
Yeah, why? Why wouldn't you pay
Because
your
I'm
bills
not
with some
doing
of it?
this for self-serving
Yeah, but why
reasons.
wouldn't you
I'm
pay
doing
your?
this for God.
If you're a good entertainer, why wouldn't you pay your bills with some of that?
Because I have other sources of income.
Yeah, but if you didn't, it's baked in the hypothetical you don't.
But I'm not that person. You're talking to me now. I'm
Yeah,
not playing
but I'm
hypothetical
saying if you
artist.
were, so I'm just trying to make a delineation
not.
as to what's appropriate and what isn't. Like,
What
is
is
there a
that?
problem with Christians? Is there a problem with Christians making money?
No,
Okay, well then I don't understand what the criticism is.
because I've already prayed about this, and it's very clear to me. I don't want to make money off of doing this, and if I do, I'm going to donate it to the church. Because you know what? I prayed to God, and it was
Then why
very
don't you
clear.
monetize your accounts and give it all to the church?
I can't even I'm demonetized. I was banned off of TikTok, and Instagram doesn't let me monetize.
Yeah, but
I
when
do
you
even
were
care.
when you weren't banned, why didn't you monetize and
Right.
give it all to the church?
I had the opportunity, and I didn't monetize my account.
Well, that's weird. That
give
seems
them-
like a contradiction. I thought you just said you were going to monetize and then give all your money to the church.
You presented a hypothetical. If I were to be paid X amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, I would give it to the church. But I wasn't presented with the opportunity, so I'm not.
You
gonna
just
go
said
look-
you were. You just said you were presented with an opportunity from a big company where you could have given all the money to the church. So why didn't you do it?
Oh, I did get presented with that opportunity. I thought you meant if I got presented of it from TikTok.
Yeah, that was for me to test your logic. But now we can move back to why I was testing your logic. Why didn't you just take the money and give it all to the church?
So they were going to pay me a few $100s per video, and I'm not going to sell myself out to make a few $100s per video.
How are you selling yourself out? You're taking money away from them and giving it to the church.
Because they want me to make certain content that they want me to. I don't care to make the content they want me to make, even if it was in alignment.
Well,
with
I
it.
don't know. That sounds pretty self-serving.
How?
Because what if you make the content which you believe in and also get paid for it and give it to the church?
The payment that I like, what gives me satisfaction, is turning anyone, man or woman, towards Christ. That's all the payment that I care for. Is people.
Yeah, but
pushing-
I mean, money's going to be a big part of being able to do media outreach to people. I mean, there's
Okay.
no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
I've gained over 500,000 followers and being suppressed, highly suppressed on just my phone alone. Clearly, I don't need a lot of money to get the message out there.
Yeah, but
I
what
don't
if you had a
really
lot of money, you could really get it out there? Wouldn't that be better?
What would I be doing differently?
Well, I mean, I think that some of the things you can do differently is engage with people who are degenerate scumbags on their ginormous platforms so that you can build an audience, monetize it, and then go give all your money to the church like you said you wanted to do.
And I was willing to go on the whatever podcast and call Brian out, but he blocked me because he was being
Because
cowardly.
you were being aggressive in the DMs.
How was
Because,
I- what did he say in the
because
DMs that
he
were
told
so
you
aggressive?
he had a format that he wanted followed for his show because it's his show, not your show, and he wanted you to follow it, and you didn't want to follow it. It's that simple.
How do you know this? Did you read these messages?
The ones that you posted in Discord, yes.
What did I say that was aggressive to Brian?
You said to Brian, when I come
Right.
on, I want to do A, B, and C. He did
I want
not
to call out the red
Yeah,
pill.
he did not want you to do that. He thought that that was going to break the flow of the show.
No, if
Now,
I
why
was
can't
gonna-
you go on and deliver your message in a way that doesn't break the flow of this guy's show? I think you
Because
can
my
do that.
My message is anti-red pill because red pill is exploiting their
You
male
can be
audience.
anti-red pill and you can be smart about it when you're on their platforms. Why can't you? Are you stupid? I mean, you're not stupid. Why can't you do that? Why can't you use the gifts God gave you and the skills God gave you to be a great subverter?
I'm just going to call out red pill. I don't understand how that's aggressive. You're going out there to call out those OnlyFans girls and feminists. I'm going on there to call out red pill. What's wrong with that?
Because,
are you aggressive?
Well, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. That's not my point. Okay. My point is to tell you something very simple, which is that if you can follow the flow of whatever it is, okay, that they demand on their platform, okay, but you can still get your message across, then you should do that.
I'm getting my message across on my Instagram and before when I was on TikTok.
Yeah, but why? So yeah, but you can also get your message across on bigger platforms than your own.
But I'm not going to, if I went on here, let me present you with this. If I were invited on the Whatever podcast or the Fresh and Fit podcast and say, hey, we're going to give you this platform. And I went on there and I didn't call them out. I'm selling myself out for clout. I'm selling my own.
You can just be smart about how it is that you deliver the message.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I really don't think that you're a stupid man. I don't understand why you can't be smart about the way in which you, you're on these other platforms, right? To some degree, you have to follow the TOS, even though these are degenerate platforms, and you know that that's true. They push degeneracy all over the place. You follow the TOS, so you have to be smart about the way in which you phrase things, don't you? But somehow, that goes away instantly the second it's on a private platform, like whatever. That's crazy to me. How are you able to subvert on the large degenerate platforms, but somehow you can't manage to get your message across utilizing somebody else's rules of engagement? I think you could do that.
You know who I think the bigger problem is not the OnlyFans women. I think it's Brian and the Whatever podcast. They're a bigger problem than the women going on.
How?
Because they're promoting them on a stage they've never been at before.
No, that's not true. In fact, most of these women who go on there, who already are in the top 1% of OnlyFans, are going to remain there whether they go on there or not. The smaller ones who go on there don't really gain much in the way of traction, just like they had no traction before they went on there. So that's not even accurate to say.
Well, they're only going on there to be platformed, so they must be gaining enough traction to think that it's a net positive to go on.
Yeah, the same reason that I want to get platformed there, because I think it's a net positive to get a message out.
Yeah, you're right. You're going on there for the same reason they are, a self-serving agenda.
No, you just keep saying that because it's the only thing you can bank back to. Yeah, but you're taking the context away from how it was meant. Even though I clarified it twice. Yeah, clarified it twice what I meant when I said that.
You said self-serving.
Yeah, but you're the only reason you're being. What is pedantry? Do you know what being pedantic is?
I don't think that I'm being pedantic.
Being pedantic is when you utilize the actual wording which is said instead of the intent behind the wording. And I literally clarified this multiple times. The only reason you keep banking back to this is to be pedantic. I clarified what I meant when I said self-serving. Okay? I clarified this multiple times. Ultimately, I think that is really, really good for us to get our ideologies in front of large audiences. You agree with this too. Most of the facts that you had about this were not even correct facts. Also, you say that none of this is self-serving for you. What happens to your book royalties? Ending simp culture. Do you keep any of that?
I donate it.
You donate all of it you donate all of it?
Yeah, I've sold 40 books. I think I made less than I had to pay to put the book out there. So I didn't even break even. And yes, I've already donated. I think I made $375. And yes, I've donated every penny of it. Of course, I charge money because it took me months and months of research to, I'm not going to just give it away for free because I worked hard for it.
And you know what? I have no problem with you being self-serving like that.
How is that self-serving when I donated it to the church?
Well, because, no, that's not what you said. You said, I'm not going to give it away for free.
Right.
Because RC spent tons and tons and tons of time writing it, and I think I deserve to be compensated for that. What you do with the compensation from there is exactly what I just said before, that you can use all of these things to still donate all that money to the church and reach an even larger audience. But how is it not self-serving, though, if you could just give it away for free?
Because, Andrew, I sold it on Amazon. How else am I going to publish this book? So a large publisher to find my book.
Why can't you sell it for $1?
I can.
Well, then why don't you?
I'll go and change the price. You know what? You got me on that. I'll go and change the price. I lost money doing this. And if you want,
I don't want you to change the price. I want you to raise the price. I want you to raise it to $25. And I want everybody in the fucking audience to go buy the damn thing. And I want you to make $1 million fucking dollars, because I don't think that it's self-serving that you can create for yourself a good life and at the same time promote a great message. I think that both are fine. I think that it's okay to be able to make a bunch of cash, and I think it's okay for you to be able to promote a great message on top of that and be a great entertainer. I think both are fine.
Let's not mix a few things, though. I don't do content for money. I don't make money with my content. Yes, I wrote a book. Yes, Amazon forces you to charge something for it. And yes, I donated every dollar of it. But I don't do this for self-serving reasons to make money. I do this to get people to turn to Christ. That's my ultimate goal.
Yeah, but what's wrong with you being able to make money while you do that at the same time?
You know what? Doing this, I don't care to make money. Am I saying it's wrong for you to make money doing this? No, I'm saying.
Well, then if there's no hypocrisy, then I don't even know where we're hung up on this, or how you could say it's self-serving.
I think that if you go on the whatever podcast to gain followers, and you're unwilling to call out the host for advertising,
I argue with the host all the time.
You will not dare.
Listen, I can't go. I cannot go on this guy's platform and have the double standard that he promote my ideology, but he refuses to allow them to have equal representation. That would be fucking hypocritical to do.
You see, but I would be willing to go and not promote my social media account, because I could.
Yeah, but you're going to reach less people, and so that's why I'm saying is the flaw in the strategy.
Okay, then we can agree to disagree. I know that if I follow God's guidance, I will reach more people in the end than your self-serving agenda. Why do you keep saying
you're still being pedantic about this? But when I asked you what's self-serving about it, you had nothing. It was crickets.
You said it was my agenda that's self-serving.
No, I do have an agenda, but you also have an agenda. You also have an agenda. I'm just being honest that I have an agenda. I'm not hiding that I have an agenda. I'm not virtue signaling or piety signaling. My agenda is to reach as many people with the message of the right and Christianity as I possibly can.
Right. And my message and my agenda is whatever God wants me to do, whether that's making content online or whatever it is, because that can change to tomorrow. Tomorrow I have an opportunity that makes me quit social media, and I'll go and do that. And as a matter of fact, God very clearly.
I'm not saying anything. Listen, I'm not beating you up one way or the other about whatever your visions are that you think you're having of God. That's fine.
You see, you talk like an atheist. The visions you think you're having of God.
Yeah, I don't know how you verify. I don't know how you verify that without an ecclesiastic. I don't know how you verify that without a church authority. I don't know how you do that.
That's an argument an atheist makes.
No, that's not an argument an atheist makes. It's an argument that I make against atheists, in fact. So I'll just lay it out real quick.
Yeah, well, sorry,
I don't
follow the church.
Yeah, if you and I disagree on what Scripture means, how do we know which one of us is right, absent an authority?
Wait, what? Repeat the question.
How do you and I know which one of us is right if we argue Scripture, if we both interpret it differently, absent an authority?
You read what the book says. You read what the Bible says.
You read what the Bible says. Which books?
Right. Which books? It depends on what the context is.
Well, is your Bible correct, or is the Orthodox Bible correct?
God's word is correct.
Yeah, that's not what I asked you. I said, is the Protestant Bible correct, or is the Orthodox book correct?
I'd say first of all, it's not one book. So are you going to say the Protestant books are not correct?
Because the Protestants have taken books out of the Bible. That's correct.
All right. Again, this is a separate debate.
No. Hang on. I think it's tied. I think it's tied in, and here's why I'm going to say it's tied in, because you are trying to make the claim that because I kind of laugh at you saying I'm having visions of God and things like this, that you say you shouldn't be doing that as a Christian, and I'm saying no. The opposite is true. That I don't believe your visions absent a church authority to verify them, because there's no way for us to do that. So it's not something which is not tied in to this conversation. I'm not mocking you. I'm disagreeing with you fundamentally.
So when the disciples had visions, did they have to have a church authority authorized?
They were the church authority. They were the church authority.
No, Jesus is the church.
Jesus Christ made them bishops in the church.
We're getting off.
Well, no, first of all, if you're going to go this route, okay, we do know that if there's prophecy going to be spoken, that it has to be confirmed. That's also in the Bible. That's in the church. Yeah. Also, if you're going to be speaking in tongues, there needs to be a translator in there to actually confirm and to translate what was being spoken in tongues. That's also in the Bible. So the notion of having to have confirmation to verify if what is being, given to be accurate is not a far stretch. So the argument that Andrew's making is sound.
Yeah, well, the church doesn't have any authority to our life here.
Oh yeah,
Jesus
because you came up with it a couple hundred years ago. You just suddenly got Christianity right a couple hundred years ago, and everybody who did it before was wrong, right?
But now we are really derailing.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But it was a derail, which I think was fair to make, because
I get it.
You seem to have the perception that because I am skeptical as to these visions that you're having, absent verification, there's no way for me to make yes, you did.
No, I didn't say I had visions. No, I didn't. I never said I'm having visions from God. Some people are communicated through visions.
Yes.
Some people are communicated through dreams. Some people are communicated through thoughts impressed on us.
But let's move back. You said when you asked me if I prayed, if God came down and spoke to me. So I asked you the same question. And you said yes. Mm-hmm. And your claim that God came down and spoke to you was because this event happened where Brian didn't let you on the whatever podcast.
That's not what I said, that God communicated to me.
That's what you used that as the example of the communication, sir. You did.
No, I did not.
Okay, well then can you give me the example? Then if I'm misquoting you, I don't mean to.
Right.
Can you give me the example?
I don't think God communicated to me about the whatever podcast because I was never invited. I never even asked. If I had been given the opportunity to go on, I would have brought that opportunity to God and said, please make it clear to me if this is something you want me to do.
And how would he have done that?
I've already told you. There's different ways he could communicate that to you.
And has he communicated in these ways to you before?
Yes.
And okay, so then I'm not off base that God communicates through you through one of these methods that you cited, which would be dreams, things like this.
Yeah, but I didn't have a vision. But yeah, of course, that's biblical that God communicates.
Yes, I agree, but it's also biblical that you have a church authority to make verifications for these things.
Yeah,
otherwise, it just comes from your own headcanon.
No, the Pope has no authority. Whatever the Orthodox.
I don't follow the Pope. I'm not a Roman Catholic. Well, then how do you I don't know how you verify what you're saying is true then, absent an authority.
Analyze the fruits of what the person is saying to see if this is the fruit of the Spirit or not. It's not hard.
Well, in this case, you're saying God is speaking directly to you.
Yeah, he can speak directly through all
Yeah, but how do you know that that's God?
All right, again, that's a separate debate.
Okay, well, I think it's intertwined. If you think that I'm mocking you out of turn, I don't even feel like I was mocking you, but rather just asking how you would get verification for these claims.
Andrew, then based on your worldview, since the church is your authority, did you ask your authority at the church if going on this podcast is good for you to do?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I've always been very open with the church authority that I do not represent the church in any capacity, and I never will. Nor do I have a ministry. I'm a political debater. And what we're having right now is a political debate. Now, sometimes theology comes into it. That's going to happen as a consequence of politics because a theological foundation is consequential when it comes to politics. So, yeah, I think that it's a super important distinction to make, and I just want to let you know that I am skeptical of your visions and things like this, and I have every right to be, but I don't question your salvation, nor would any Orthodox, nor am I saying that you're not a Christian. I'm not making any of those claims at all. But I do have a fundamental disagreement with you theologically and a fundamental disagreement with you on this topic of how we reach the most amount of people politically for a message that I think both of us adhere mostly to in the right-wing sphere.
I think that as Christians, we go onto those shows if God makes it clear for us to go onto those shows.
Yeah, but I don't. Okay, but see why it keeps getting brought back to this, though? It keeps getting brought back to this because now we're moving off of the realm of the political, and you're bringing in that you've had divine messaging, which is telling you to either go on a show or not go on a show. And so I think it's totally appropriate for me at that point to ask about the verification methods of this of this messaging that you're getting. I think that that's totally fair if you bring that up as a point in your favor.
And I already told you, analyze the fruits of it to see if this is of God or not.
Yeah, but how do you verify that?
Okay, not the church, because the church doesn't have any authority.
Well, just so you're the ultimate authority?
our communication with God and the Holy Spirit guides us to see if it's fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah,
or
but
not.
how do you know that that's God and the Holy Spirit absent
Because God spoke
verification?
to you. You analyze.
How do
is
you
this
know
coming
it's not the
from God?
devil speaking to you?
Again, you analyze the fruit of what this vision or dream or thought impressed on you is leading you.
And now
You
you
look-
have opened up a huge problem for yourself. So what if somebody else who you believe is just as pious as you has a contrary vision or intuition from God and tells you that God gave him the exact opposite message and you shouldn't do this thing? How do you know you're right and he's wrong?
Again, a separate debate.
Yeah.
Well,
I keep telling you, you analyze it.
I think now you're making it more the same debate though. You're that's deflecting his question.
I'm fine with moving on.
Yeah, let's
we'll
move
let
on.
it
I'm just
stand.
saying that
So
as
let's
Christians,
moving
we
it
ask
back,
God-
moving it back to the political, if you don't mind, right? If you have a political agenda, it's necessary for you to reach the most amount of people that you possibly can. You would agree with that, and you clearly are a right winger, right? I've watched your stuff. You're at least way more on the right than you are on the left. Am I wrong in ascertaining that this is the truth?
Yeah, I'm a conservative.
Yeah, you're a conservative, and you would prefer to promote conservative ideology over leftist ideology, I would guess.
Yeah, because
Okay.
conservatism is rooted in the Bible. Yes.
Yeah, so you need to reach as many people as you can to promote conservative ideology from the ground up. You just do. Especially if you want to make any type of political gains inside of the United States. One of the things that I've noticed, and maybe you'll agree with me, is that the church as an authority, which Protestant churches did used to adhere to some in-church authority, they really did, has become so corrupted and so invaded with the leftist element that they are basically toothless at this point. And so you can't really rely on the function of what you would consider the Protestant church anymore, holding degeneracy at bay. It's basically fallen to individuals to promote this and to push back against it. And I don't understand why you wouldn't want to reach the maximum amount of people you can, even if you have to, for the purpose of the show you're on, the platform you're on. I've had to do this many times. I've had to insert the messaging, right, while I'm following whatever the program itself, whatever their structure is for the program. I've had to do that many times, and I think that's fine. That's their program. They can do whatever they want, but I want to reach all the people who are there.
I mean, if your agenda is politics and you want to reach the most amount of people to push a conservative message, then yeah, you go on Fox News, CNN, you go on MSNBC, you go on news networks.
Why wouldn't that be true of Christianity too?
You can stand for Christianity as well, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, in CNN, you would agree, pushes about the most degenerate agenda possible, right?
Right.
But you still would
I mean,
want them to promote you. You still would want them to promote you.
If CNN offered me an invite and God made it very clear to he opened the doors for me to go on the show, that's very different for me to accept that invite versus going to a round table of literally whore OnlyFans women that are promoting their sexual content. And you know it's very different.
Yeah, but what if they invited you to a roundtable on CNN full of OnlyFans women?
If they invited me to a round table of OnlyFans women and CNN is going to promote this, I would go on and call out Red Pill. And then I'll just leave the show.
Well, then here's the problem I have with that. The problem that I have with that is that you would go on and you would do battle with leftist ideologues.
I wouldn't
who
debate
created,
them. I would call out Red Pill and leave the show.
Who created the conditions. Well, let's just say it was with leftist ideologues, right? You'd go on and it had nothing to do with the Red Pill. They would call out the Red Pill too. They fucking hate it. So, but you would go on and debate with leftist ideologues on that show, knowing that they were the foundation for the degeneracy to begin with. And that, again, makes no sense to me.
It doesn't have to make sense to you. I'm going on there to call out the Red Pill podcast host, to call out Red Pill, and I'll say these women with these OnlyFans accounts are powerless unless men continue to subscribe to them.
Yeah, but so are the leftist ideologues. They're powerless as soon as men decide that they have no power. It's the same exact principle applied across the board. A leftist ideologue also has no power if they have no viewership, just like the OnlyFans girl. Yet I would argue that the leftist ideologue is more responsible for the OnlyFans girl being able to exist in the first place. And yet you're willing to engage them, but not with the hooligans or the symptoms of it. You should engage with all of it.
I'll engage with it as long as their accounts are not plugged. So I'm not going to
I
engage.
just feel
with
like
those
it's pride at this point, man, holding you
It's
back. I
not
think you
pride.
see my you see my viewpoint and you want to
I
agree
do
with
see
it, but you
utility.
don't want to agree with it if you think in any way, shape, or form you're going to have to give an inch of ground. I'm willing to give
I don't
some ground to
negotiate
you.
with the devil.
Look, I would love it.
don't.
I would
don't
absolutely
negotiate with the
adore it if nobody ever put a provocative picture in a fucking thumbnail again. That would be great, but it's not material reality.
I'm not willing to negotiate with the devil. I'm not.
You're
willing
not
to
negotiating with the devil. You're going to confront the devil on his own playground.
You said concede ground to them. I'm not willing.
I didn't
to do
say
that.
concede
Absolutely not.
ground to them. I said no. My motto is not one step back. You concede no ground, but you can never even get your fucking foot on the enemy's terrain with your worldview. You can never gain any ground because you're unwilling to even put the foot where the enemy's doorstep is.
Gain hundreds of millions of views without doing that. And
Great.
not
It's nice that you have an echo chamber, but how are you reaching?
I've already told you that I speak against Red Pill and I lose thousands of followers. How is
Right.
an echo
Well,
chamber?
that's showing you then that the people who
But I
are
don't have
following
an
you
echo
are
chamber,
only
so it's
following
showing.
you because they already agree with you. Otherwise, if you have these disagreements, they would not abandon your show.
I don't have an echo chamber because I have conflicting views in the people that follow me, obviously.
If you have conflicting views, the people who are following you, then why do they abandon your show?
Not all of them abandoned.
Yeah, sure, not all of them. And I'm saying the ones who remain probably mostly agree with you. What I'm saying is that I would like to see you actually touch footfall down on enemy terrain and actually take it to them, take the fight to them. I've seen so often Christians who will take what they consider to be a principled stance while the literally society's burning around them. It's like all you have to do is step across the Rubicon. That's all I'm asking.
You're saying to step on enemy terrain. Would you consider the whatever podcast enemy terrain?
Every single time I go on there.
The host is the enemy of us?
I wouldn't say that the host is necessarily
show.
an enemy. I think that the host can be brought around to my worldview over time.
So you think the red pill is the enemy? Because it's a red pill show.
I don't think that the red pill is the enemy as far as descriptors. I think that the red
So you're not going on the enemy's territory. You're going on ally's territory because it's a red pill show.
No, listen, it's not necessarily when you're talking about an enemy-ally distinction. While it's true that I have some agreements with Brian, I also have many disagreements with Brian. When he's talking about descriptors, he's correct. Same with Rollo Tomasi. When they're talking about descriptors, they're mostly correct. When they're talking about prescriptions, I mostly disagree with them, and we end up having these fights. I believe, based on the content that I just viewed from you today, when you reached out, that you have the exact same mentality, that you agree with most of these red pill descriptors as well. So then you wouldn't be going into enemy territory either, I guess.
The red pill is definitely the enemy, 100%. I don't know what.
Based on descriptors or prescriptors? Like, for instance,
What are some descriptors
here, let me
that
give you a descriptor. Women like tall men, on average.
Okay, sure.
Do you agree or disagree?
Women usually like taller men.
Yeah,
Okay.
with absent a patriarchal authority, women will often revert to hypergamy.
Without a patriarchal authority, women will often without a Christian authority, women will do that.
That would be a patriarchal authority, by the way. And
think
no,
Christianity is
in
patriarchal?
Muslim nations, they have a patriarchal authority, and women are not reverting to hypergamy, sir.
Yeah, well, it comes down to how you define patriarchy, because
Men are in fucking charge. That's how I would define patriarchy.
in the home. Men are in charge in the home if they submit themselves to God. That's it. That's the only
Okay,
way.
but that's not. I just gave you the definition of patriarchy. I said men are in fucking charge. That's what it means. And absent that, women will often revert to hypergamy. Do you agree or disagree?
I don't agree on their definition of patriarchy, though.
Okay, well, what's the definition of patriarchy then?
A system of society or government in which the father or eldest male is the head of the family or descent is traced through the family or a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded.
Also, men are in fucking charge. So you agree with me then?
Women are not excluded from power, though.
They can be. That would be at the whims of the patriarchy.
That's not Christianity.
I didn't say anything about Christianity. I just said the word patriarchy.
You said
You're adding Christian to patriarchy.
You said
But yet your
Christianity-
definition. Can you show me in your definition where it says the word Christian, sir?
You said patriarchy is Christian. You said Christian is a patriarchal system.
Yes, Christianity is a patriarchal system, but that does not mean that patriarchy means Christianity, sir.
It depends on how you define it.
Well,
Because
that's why we just went through the
excludes
definitions.
women
And can you show me in the definition where it says Christianity? anywhere.
Claiming that it's Christianity's patriarchal. You claim that.
Yes, Christianity is patriarchal, but that doesn't mean that all patriarchies are Christian.
Well, then show me where in patriarchy it says Christian, since you're saying that it's a Christian system.
No. I said the opposite. I said that, yes, it's true that Christianity is a patriarchal system, but that does not mean that all patriarchal systems are Christian.
All right. Am
I wrong?
Is Christianity a patriarchal system? I do not agree with that per the definition of patriarchy. No.
Why don't you agree with that?
You don't agree that
what? Wait, hang on. What? You don't believe it's a patriarchal system?
No.
Okay. Is God both gendered?
What does that have to do with?
Well, I'm just wondering. Who's in charge of Christianity? Is it Jesus Christ?
Christianity is a relationship with Christ. I don't know what you mean.
So who's in charge of Christianity? Who's in charge? Is it a man or a woman?
The Father. So yes, it's a male.
It's a male. And
but
hang on. Is he the end all be all? Is he the Alpha and the Omega? Is he the beginning and the end? Is he the all? Is he the everything? Is he everything? Because if so, then that would be a patriarchy, sir.
Yeah, no. Christianity is a relationship with Christ. It's not the hierarchical structure that you think it is because you're an Orthodox. That's not what Christianity is.
Oh, really? So do women preach in your church?
No.
Why not?
Women just don't preach in
Why not?
They preach in other churches.
Do you think they should be able to?
Again, that's a theological debate.
No, we're talking about patriarchy. We're talking about patriarchy. Do you think women should be able to preach in your church?
Patriarchy is the system of government that a country is in.
No, it doesn't have to be a country. It can be. You can have a commune that's a patriarchy, bro.
If you can make an argument that, sure, the household is sort of patriarchal in nature because the man has to submit himself to God, and then that's the only way a traditional woman will submit herself to him.
Yeah, I don't even disagree. That sounds patriarchal to me.
In the household, but the patriarchy usually refers to a government system.
The extension from the household would also be the church next.
What do you mean, no? A patriarchy usually refers to a government system.
Hang on. Assuming.
Am I debating both of you, or what's going on?
Assuming for a
second. Clarify the definition of patriarchy. Father ruled. That was the traditional.
I don't think you've been treated unfair by the mod by any stretch, and it's appropriate for him to give clarification on definition. But the thing is that I actually cannot figure out how this is not a patriarchal system or how churches are not run through a patriarchal system. I think that they very clearly are, and by your own definition, they are.
Okay.
So the reason that I'm bringing this up is because, again, this was you who brought up that, hey, this is a principled Christian stance, okay? Not so sure that it's a principled Christian stance. Maybe you should kind of reevaluate some of your Christian ethics here. That's all I'm saying.
But a man of the household only does what God leads him to do.
And?
So again, if you want to make the argument in the household, it's a patriarchal system. Depends on how you define it. Sure,
but
it's a man submitted himself to God.
It's
anyway. We're very far off. You wanted to go off the descriptors that you're saying. I agree with.
Yeah, but I think that is a descriptor that the red pill would agree with. That men should be in charge and be. And that a patriarchy is a necessary precondition for a thriving society. I think that they would agree.
They say that, but the problem is they don't care if men submit themselves to God.
That would be a prescription, not a description. That's my whole point. So you asked what descriptors would you agree with, and this is exactly what I'm telling you. The descriptor that a patriarchy is necessary for a healthy society, they would agree with. However, how that is implemented is where you and I would deviate with them. This is my whole point by telling you the distinction between descriptive reality and prescriptive reality. The reason that I loathe the red pill is because when it comes to the conditions of prescription, I believe that they're wrong. However, that doesn't make them my enemy because many times the descriptions that they give are completely correct. So we can find a lot of common ground. That's how I'm able to move them over to my side, is saying, look, your prescriptions suck and mine are way better. Right?
Sure.
All right. Well, I think we've gotten as far in the debate as we can, but do you mind sticking around for some callers and super chats? I'd appreciate it.
Yep.
And also, RC, do you want to shout your channel out briefly before we take those on? I'll give you an opportunity to do that again after we make closing statements.
No, I'm good.
I'm not going to. I'm literally not going to use it against you. I promise. You could just shout it out because there's a large audience here. I thought.
Bro, yeah, because I have like quadruple the amount of followers, so I don't need to shout myself out.
Yeah, but you don't have quadruple the amount of live viewers, so.
Okay, I don't care to shout myself out.
No, okay, well, fine. Then I'll shout myself out to all of your viewership. I will not piety signal, and will say you can find me right here on the Crucible. My name is Andrew Wilson. I appreciated the debate very much. I guess I won't be putting a link in because he doesn't want one. I have no idea why. It seems absurd to me, but I'll give my closing first and give you the last word because you opened first. That's pretty common in debates. Do you have any issues there?
No.
Okay. So anyway, here's my closer here. My closer here is that you, the audience, can compare strategies between myself and RC. It seems that his principled stance is far more self-serving than anything in which I'm doing, which is to try to bring the messaging of conservatism and Christianity to the maximum amount of people that I possibly can by engaging them on their own turf, utilizing their own worldviews. And I think that that RC is unnecessarily crippling himself by not doing that. And it seems like now that I've demonstrated this kind of over and over and refuted each and every point he's brought up, that he's literally just hanging on to pride and saying, look, the reason I'm not going to change my stance on this is because I think that it's important. Wait, he muted me? You didn't mute me, did you? Yeah. Did you mute me?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. Sorry, somebody said that. But anyway, I think that that I successfully refuted basically all of his arguments, and I think that it's pretty easy to see the contrast. I have nothing against RC. He seems like a very nice man, and I enjoyed his content when I went and viewed it and found myself agreeing with a lot of it. Our core disagreement here is around how we reach maximum audiences, and I think it's very important that we do so. And on their own turf, in their face, and I think that that's how we bring the most amount of people to our side, and he disagrees. You can make the determination for yourself which kind of tactic you think is going to be the most effective, but just remember that I brought up multiple times that this has been tried before, and it's failed miserably over and over, and we cannot pretend that you can change culture without engaging with the culture. You have to, and you can't do it from an echo chamber. You have to do it where you get the most amount of people who see you engaging in it so that they can continue to either A, be converted from what it is, the path that they're on, or can help you push this message to other people. So I have no ill will towards RC. I hope he does very well. And I was happy that he came on and did the debate. He requested it. I thought it was respectful for the most part, though contentious. And with that, I'll yield my time.
Yeah, so I mean, as I said from the beginning, all you have to do, go on YouTube, as you're already on, type in the whatever podcast and go look at their thumbnails and ask yourself, is this a podcast that's really fighting to help young men to turn away from this degeneracy? Or is this a podcast that is an OnlyFans ad agency promoting these women to go on, which is the only reason they go on? And when you click on any video, go to the bio, you'll see every single of the women on the panels, Instagrams are linked. And where do you find OnlyFans links? In women's Instagram accounts. So obviously there's a connection there. To rebuttal what Andrew said, that I'm doing this, I'm holding on to my position out of pride. I'm holding on to my position for opposite of pride. If I let my pride control everything I do, I would do exactly what Andrew's doing. I would go on any podcast without asking God first if this is something he'd want me to do, to gain maximum amount of followers to me, to grow my account as big as I possibly can, without first asking, is this something that is biblically based, since I view the world through Christianity first before anything else. So the last thing I will conclude with is these Red Pill podcast hosts know exactly what they're doing by exploiting the pain of their male audience by clickbaiting them to show these explicit pictures so that they can click on, pretend and masquerade this whole thing as a debate, pretending to fight as some sort of justice warrior against these feminist, promiscuous ideologies. But at the end of the day, the Red Pill podcast hosts are in it for the same reason that the degenerate OnlyFans women are going on. It's for attention and it's for money. And I yield my time.
Well, look, I just say before we get to the callers and everything, that I hold no ill will towards you at all, and I did appreciate the debate, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Give me a second here, guys. I know that there's callers stacking up in the background. I'm going to start pulling them up.
If you don't mind, may I just run to the restroom?
No. Yeah, of course. Of course.
Right.
No, you may not. Absolutely not. What kind of bullshit is that, Glenn? He wants to go to the restroom right before callers?
This is ridiculous. You just don't do that.
This is fucking crazy. This is crazy.
You hold that, Pete.
All right, Grid Motorsports, you've been waiting patiently in the background. I'm going to pull you up. Just hold your peace until he gets back from the restroom. I'd appreciate it. How you doing, Grid One? It's nice to see you.
Man, I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Nice to see your... Nice to see that you have like kind of a nice contrast back wall. Looks like you've been working a little bit, maybe on a studio, something like that.
Actually, this is my airplane shed. On the other side of that wall is an airplane. So
Nice.
this is I built this as my wife's office. She's just not allowed to use it right now.
By the way, you guys are welcome to call in, even if you're not, fans of the Crucible or whatever. We're gonna pull you up so you can give necessary pushback.
I was just trying to be respectful, man. I didn't need your permission.
No, I know. I was just playing. I was just playing.
I know.
Anyway, Grid One's here. You might know him as a regular super chatter of whatever. He called in. Grid One, go ahead with your question.
Yeah. So, have you ever actually watched an episode of whatever?
I've seen clips.
Clips. Okay. So let me help you out because I've oddly watched a lot of them. I know it's shocking, but Brian's not red pill to start off with. I think that's like your first mistake is to consider him red pill. He actually tends to condemn those guys quite a bit and pokes fun at them. If you'd watched the show, you'd probably know that, but you haven't. So you're just speaking kind of out of your ass. That's okay. It's just like Andrew caught, you didn't do your research on the Instagram thing. You didn't do your research on the show. I kind of have to say that from my point of view, you're really just clout chasing and bringing an argument that doesn't need to be made.
I'm clout chasing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who am I clout chasing from?
Well, you're on Andrew's channel right now.
I have
arguing
4 times the amount of followers. How am I clout chasing?
You went out of your way. I'm sorry.
Right.
I wasn't.
That's just
done.
an interesting view.
Can we let the caller finish his statement?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to not cut you off there. You went on the Andrew's Discord demanding that he condemn Brian, which is weird because that would be the opposite of what I would do if I were trying to get Andrew to do anything. First of all, he's somewhat stubborn, and second, I think just an open hand works better than a fist. You seem to not have learned that in life. I'm old, so I have, and and this is really the last thing. I'm just kind of, and I don't know that there's a true question in here other than that, I don't think that you've prepared and that you understand anything about the show. Brian actually hates having OF girls on, and we give him a lot of crap about it all the time because it ruins the show. It actually ruins the show, and we don't like it. You can go back and watch where we say, Brian, no more OF fans. The people who are watching it. And he'll actually point out when he does not have them. We would prefer that they not come on because they are. It becomes like a degenerate cesspool, and nobody wants to watch that. It ruins the content, in my opinion. Although I do get to make fun of them, and I do like that. So I just think that you're coming at this in absolutely the completely wrong angle. you're welcome to give me your angle. But since you haven't actually watched this show, I'm not sure how valid your opinion is.
Yeah.
And I really think that you should do that. And as a Christian, I would especially think that before you went and condemned somebody, you would know a little bit more about them. And I will mute myself.
I mean, where's the question in that? I'll respond to that monologue. I guess I'll try. I've outlined my position. I've researched deeply into you're saying like, oh, this was a surprise that I didn't know it was just the Instagram accounts that were linked. I've made multiple videos about this, and I openly wanted to discuss this with Brian or with Myron and the other guy on the Fresh and Fit. I have no problem with discussing what do you think you're doing to benefit these young men by advertising these OnlyFans women? Do you think it's a good thing that he advertises their boobs and their ass and their sexually provocative pictures as the thumbnails to their videos? You think that's a good thing? You think that helps men to not give in to the temptation?
I'm sorry, was that a question for me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that
And
was a
then
question.
just kind of briefly respond, Grid One, and we got to move to the next caller.
Briefly. Look, I think you're completely off base. Those girls actually have complained. You know, Brian's been sued because an OF girl lost subscriptions from being on the show. You don't know that because you don't watch the show. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're simply virtually
One woman is your argument of the hundreds that have been one.
Well, I only need one example to refute your argument.
So the hundreds that go on there and continue to go on there to gain out.
Well,
how many women have been on this show?
Well, do you have proof that more of them have gained than lost subscribers? Or is that just something that you believe for no particularly good reason?
I think people vote with their feet, to speak in a figurative sense. And the fact that they keep going on the show, even though their ideologies get destroyed from guys like you, because it's an easy destroy, and I commend you for destroying the ideology. I think there's some utility in it. They don't go on there to win or lose a debate. They go on there to gain followers to their OnlyFans and Instagram accounts. It's for clout.
Yeah, so while I agree that there could be some substance there, do you actually have evidence and proof that that's true, or is it just an assumption?
Unless I had some kind of Instagram follower tracker, I'm being speculative to why else would they go on the show? Why else, with millions of followers and hundreds of thousands of men watching, why do you think it doesn't take a few brain cells to connect the dots? Why do you think they're going?
Well, I don't know. I thought you just got done saying that they're some of the stupidest people around, and yet now you seem to be giving them all kinds of credit towards it.
You understand some of these OnlyFans girls have agents, right? As I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't you think the agents think that it's a good thing to have their girls advertised on these shows with hundreds of thousands of guys watching?
I think sometimes, but I think that they would have a much easier time if there was no ideological pushback. Don't you agree?
I mean, sure, but they don't care about the ideological pushback.
Well, prove it.
Do guys watch porn to see if the girl's
prove that they would rather go on and have no resistance than have some?
How do you prove something like that?
Well, I mean, don't make the claim if you can't provide the proof.
How can you prove something like that? It
would be simple.
Well, you could maybe
go talk to them. You can poll them. You can watch the show. You could do all these different things. You don't actually know for sure that what you're saying is true. It does make sense, but I was even willing to just grant that it was true, and I still think you're wrong, even if I grant that it's true.
If I was wrong, and my only criticism to Brian is, hey, I want to go on your show so I can debate you on if what you're doing by promoting these women
is not there to be debated by someone like you.
He blocked me. That's evidence, and that's evidential enough that he's doing this for profit.
Most people want to live. That's how he makes his living.
Yeah.
You wanted to go on to debate a host on his own show. Brian doesn't debate anyone.
He debates all the girls that go on the show.
Andrew,
he doesn't. Not really. He doesn't really debate with them.
He simply tells them that they're doing something wrong.
He really doesn't. I'm going to be totally honest with you. He really doesn't do much in the way of debating. He does give a bit of ideological pushback, but it seems like that's mostly to stir the conversation, not to actually give ideological pushback. He seems to always defer that to guests that he has on. who are in the opposite position, be they male or female. He himself, I have not seen actually do much in the way of debating, or he just makes like a fucking World of Warcraft reference and he'll go off on that for 20 minutes just because it's funny. But it seems that his function there is to kind of stir the pot rather than make arguments himself. That's just what I've noticed. I've been on a ton of times. So
his podcast is to entertainment purposes only. He doesn't care to help young
You
men.
can't say anything about what his podcast is for. You've never watched it.
I've watched segments of it and I've seen clips.
You've never watched a single episode.
It's 5 hours. You're talking like these episodes.
Never watched.
You're saying like these episodes are 10 minutes.
Notice that I've not said one word about your podcast because I don't even know who you are. Right. I've never watched you. So I won't comment on your ability. Right. You can't comment on Brian other than you approached him to be on the podcast and you told him probably rudely that, hey, I want to debate you. And he's like, well, I don't debate. So no.
That's not what he said. He didn't say I don't debate. You're putting words in his mouth. You seem to know him so well, so you should know.
I don't. Okay. You're the one that said that he didn't want to debate you.
All right, Grid One, if you want to have a debate another day, maybe you and I can have a debate. You ask your question.
I don't debate.
It wasn't really a question. Well, then why are you debating me right now?
I'm not debating you. I'm just telling you you're wrong. That's not a debate. That's a simple statement.
You think I'm wrong because the guy you give thousands of your dollars to as his like number one donator, you're definitely not biased in this. You're definitely not biased.
I think you're making a speculation here. You're assuming that Grid One has made any donations to thousands of dollars. Let's just
Grid One admitted this in the Discord server of the Crucible.
Yeah. Okay.
Take that. Take that, moderator.
All right, I'm just going to be quiet and let you guys
Take that, moderator.
I'm giving money to Andrew, too.
Okay.
And I'll give him
money to whoever you want. Have you given money to an OnlyFans girl, too?
No.
Okay. I find that one hard to believe. Okay.
Absolutely not. I fry those girls up. They're degenerate. Just like you're kind of a degenerate yourself, and you need to wake up and realize that.
How am I a degenerate myself?
Assuming things that you don't bother to look into and research.
And
that is wrong.
The guy that's promoting them. You give money to the guy that keeps advertising those women.
He's not advertising anybody. He's advertising
his pictures as the thumbnail to the videos. So if there's a podcast that was anti-drugs and they brought drug dealers on every week and they had 12 drug dealers and showed the drugs as the picture.
I love that you use this. Hold on. I've already heard it. I've already heard it.
Of the drug dealers, is that not promoting the drug?
I've already heard it.
Is that promoting the drug dealers in that instance?
You've already said this 3 times.
Okay.
I'm surprised. I think it's very nice of Andrew not to have called you on it. But here's the thing. Yeah, putting pictures of the drugs that they were arrested for in the video would be fucking great. I would love that.
You think it's good to show the address of the drug dealer so people know where to go and buy it?
Yes, go beat their ass.
You think it's good to show the drug dealer's address so people can go and buy the product?
And
you're calling he's a degenerate.
And he's okay with
that. Hey, hang on, RC. Why do they show sex offenders' addresses?
So you can stay away from them.
Yeah, that's right. So there's, the opposite of your point here is that showing a person's address does not necessarily mean that it's for good things to happen to them. That's an insane claim.
In some instances, no. In this instance, you are promoting the very product that you're showing people where to go and buy.
Yeah, or you could also be showing people what not to go and do. And that I've already shown you. There are segments which you yourself engage in by pointing to the product and then saying, do not engage in this. You do it yourself.
I don't show them where to find the product.
Yeah, but that's because you assume they're so fucking stupid they can't figure it out for themselves, which is insane.
All right.
Anyway, Grid One, I appreciated the call in. I'm sorry, we don't have any more time. I got to move on to the next caller.
I didn't appreciate the call in, Grid One. Why don't you donate some more money to your favorite fan, bro?
Which would be who? Me?
I'm sorry, what?
Why don't you go donate some more money to the guy that's advertising these women? And then keep calling people like me a degenerate that's standing against that. That's interesting.
I was trying to be nice to you, but you can't.
You were not nice to me.
You are a degenerate, piety signaling.
All right, guys. We can't. We can't.
We gotta move on.
We got to move on. I'm sorry.
That wasn't even a question. I thought this was a question segment.
Well, usually it is, but they can whatever their criticisms are that they want to give you and you want to give back is fine.
All right, fair enough.
Go ahead, Adam Dole, when you're ready.
So I do have a question. When you were talking to Andrew about rights, Andrew asked you who determines what rights are if not the Supreme Court. You appealed to God. So how does God? How do you get the First Amendment from God?
Do you think that our rights as human beings come from the government or come from God?
I don't think. Well, that's an interesting question, but that doesn't answer my question.
Okay, I'll answer. So if the Supreme Court made a ruling and the government said that it is okay to rape people, is that now
Hang on. Don't use that language here. Just
we
say,
can't say that?
yeah, say
So-
essay, please.
All
Just
right.
essay, please.
Okay. If the government said that it was okay to essay people,
this is
that
not
where we get our
responsive to my
rights from?
question.
It is a response to your question.
No,
Our rights as human
so
beings.
you're attempting to answer my question with another question. So I will ask it again. How did you determine that the First Amendment comes from God?
The First Amendment is not a human right. The First Amendment is a right given by the government. Our rights as human beings come from God.
Okay, so when you appealed to God, when Andrew asked you where rights come from, specifically in the context of free speech, you admit that the free speech, First Amendment, does not actually come from God?
The First Amendment is a right given by the U.S. Constitution.
Okay, so
Our
that doesn't
rights as
answer my
human
question.
beings do not come from the government. Our
So
rights
then
as human beings
so then
come from
that
God.
right
That's
to, so then the First Amendment and freedom of speech you don't believe is a God-given right.
Yeah.
The First Amendment is a right given by the U.S. government.
Okay, so I will make this question as direct as possible. This is a yes or no question, okay?
Okay.
Does the right to freedom of speech come from God?
No, it comes from the U.S. government.
Okay, so who determines what qualifies as free speech? God or the U.S. government?
If you're talking about legality in the United States, determined by the government, but our rights as human beings don't come from the government. That's my
Okay, so if the government determines that pornography is free speech, then necessarily it's free speech, right?
In that government, sure.
Okay, so you say in that government. So I assume in that sense you mean it can change depending on government, right?
The rights of a government can change depending on the government.
Okay. So do you think that free speech is compatible with Christianity?
Sure, there's elements of it, of course.
Okay, well, so how do you explain the First Commandment, the Third Commandment, the Fifth Commandment, and the Ninth Commandment? All those commandments are speech restrictions.
Again, you want to get into a theological debate?
Well, if you're
already
going to
answered
bring
your question.
theology...
You asked the question, I answered your question, and now you're just asking me like a litmus test of questions.
Well, yeah, so if you're going to bring theology into a political debate, I don't think it's unfair for me to interrogate your theology when it comes to
I've
politics.
already answered it. I think our rights as human beings are given to us by God, not the government. Because the government
No, you don't.
So you think the government can take our human rights away? And restrict our human rights?
You've already admitted that rights, at least the right to freedom of speech, comes from the government. So obviously, you don't think that all rights come from God. You think that some rights, at least, come from the government.
No, I think our rights as human beings come from God. And then whatever government you're in can create legal rights for the country that you're living in. But those rights are human-made rights. Our rights inherently as human beings come from God.
Okay, so what's the right that comes from God?
All right.
Last question, Adam Dole.
No, he's asking 15 questions.
Yeah, well, I give everybody an approximation of time. That's all.
I answered his question. I'm not you want to have a theological debate, we can do that another time.
All right.
Yeah, so this is hold on, just briefly. You criticized Grid 1 for not asking any questions, and you criticized me for asking too many. What's the happy medium here?
I thought people come on to ask a question, and you asked like 7 of them.
Well, no. They come on for an allotment of time to have an exchange with.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood that.
Yeah.
Okay,
sorry.
fair enough. You came on, you asked the questions. I tried my best to answer them to the best of my ability, and you're trying to go off into a theological debate, which is going to require more than the allotted time that you have on here to talk.
All right. Listen, I got to remove you, Adam. Thank you for the call, and I really appreciate it. Hang on a second. Hang on. I see all of you guys in the background. Just bear with me. We're going to try to get all of you up and through. Sun Chaser, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead with your question.
So, I appreciate your content, Andrew. My first question is to RC. So, I understand your position and thinking that, it's you're promoting degeneracy. What's the alternative? Because throughout the debate, you're criticizing. You have a criticism about it's promoting degeneracy. So what is the alternative? Because as a Christian, I'm also a Christian, and I am actually, I actually think it's time that we stop being passive and started stepping into enemy territory. If you don't think that's the right way, then what's your alternative?
All right, Sun Chaser, I would say social media platforms, maybe with the exception of Twitter, or now known as X, is enemy territory. As a conservative content creator, I've already entered enemy territory. And I started with 0 followers. I didn't have some organization give me a large platform. I had to earn my platform, just like I imagine Andrew's had to earn his platform. I've already entered enemy territory by making a social media account on a left-wing content creating app.
Yeah, but that's
right?
crazy, because that would be you supporting the left-wing content creator app, which then has links all over it, which lead to women's OnlyFans.
Yeah, well, that's very different than a concentrated platform that's designed to promote those women.
Yeah, Instagram is designed to promote degeneracy. So is YouTube and these other platforms. To say anything otherwise, totally disingenuous.
All right. I mean, you're the mental gymnastics.
It's not. That's not mental gymnastics. That's just using your own logical step by step to show how it applies to you as well. It's not mental gymnastics.
Sun Chaser, to answer your question, right? I've entered enemy territory. I've created an account, and I've spoke against these ideologies.
Okay.
That's the alternative. All of us can do that. We all have the right to do that.
So then how do you, so I understand that. So then how do you battle against the algorithm? You know, because at that point, like Andrew said, at some point, you end up building an echo chamber. And then that's how the algorithm works of the internet, right? So once you step into enemy territory, like you say, you're on Twitter and social media, you have your following. Then how do you interact with the people who aren't in that realm?
I've already said that.
How do you step over that?
Debating against the people, so long as the platform you're going on isn't clearly a sexual an OnlyFans ad agency. And when you go on a platform, as a Christian, I'm looking at this.
But that's limiting. Is that not limiting your reach?
Of course it is, but I don't negotiate with God and the devil. I do what God wants me to do. And going on a platform that's promoting these OnlyFans prostitutes is not something I want to bring my followers to do. The only time I ever want is to call off the host.
All right, so fair enough. So then my last question would be, is that you decide? Is that your are you the one who came up with this, or is this you following being a Christian? Is this something that you came up with, or is this you following what Scripture speak? Because did Jesus not step in enemy territory and interact and spread the word to these degenerates? Because this is nothing new.
He did. You know what Jesus didn't do? He didn't tell everyone that was listening to him speak to, let's say, a prostitute, what her address is to go find her at her house. He didn't let people know where to go.
So that's not you.
Yeah.
Right, but he's still there. So you going on a platform is not you promoting. It's the platform guy. So I'll be charitable. You can be charitable and be like, you know,
caller, you have to wrap it here. We're basically just out of time for you. I'm sorry. Make it very, very brief.
I appreciate it, but yeah.
Okay.
So again, like, I understand what you're saying, RC, but if you're worried about promoting, it's not you promoting. It's still the host. So
Sun Chaser, do you think if when you brought up Jesus,
bro, we have to move on, or we'll never get through the callers. I want to be as respectful as I can to your time. So, Logan D, you've been waiting patiently in the background. Go ahead when you're ready.
Hey, what's up? Good to see you again, Andrew. So RC, oh shit. So in your mind, what is the proper way to do online proselytization and evangelism? Because it seems like you have a big issue with the way Andrew does it, stepping onto these platforms and talking to and debating these women on their lifestyle and their worldview in order to bring them closer to the truth.
You're done with the question?
Yeah.
Andrew's already said he doesn't care to change their mind, so he doesn't care to show them the truth. He's doing it for the people. Andrew said that earlier in the debate. He doesn't care to change their mind.
No, I said it's a secondary conditional. I'm happy if I do, but that's not the primary reason I do it.
The primary reason you do it are for the people watching.
Yeah. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to say the only reason I do X is for this reason. That's not true. I'm happy if I can reach these people as well. I'm just saying that that's not the primary motivation which I have.
Okay. Well, Logan, to try to answer your question, right? I will repeat for like the 15th time. You can debate these ideologies. You can go on these platforms and debate these ideologies. But if you're a Christian and you see, hey, they're advertising these women, but in the thumbnail, it's clear advertisement. When you go on the whatever YouTube channel, you see they're advertising their pictures. Are they not? Are they not advertising the product, which is their body? You don't think so?
They do to an extent. However, I kind of fail to see how that's Andrew's problem when he is specifically there to confront those worldviews and to refute them.
The only criticism I had to Andrew, and I'm surprised this was an entire debate, was that, Andrew, why do you stop short of just asking the host, why do you platform and advertise those women? Because you're created an OnlyFans ad agency.
Well, no, we went over this. I don't believe it's an OnlyFans ad agency. And I think that specifically that the reason that this happens is because he wants to provide, which most debate channels will also do, a neutral ground for people to have these engagements. I platform tons of leftists, for instance, and right. I do put their links down in the bio, even though they are for some of the worst types of degeneracy possible. But how else can I have a platform from which these ideologies, which I think mine is the best, to debate? How could I do that without being fair across the board? There's no way to do it.
Okay. Logan, did you have more questions?
I think that was about it. But I did want to say, if I can remember what it was. Yeah, that'll be all. Thanks for having me. Good to talk to all of y'all.
Yeah, you too, man. Okay, have a good night. I'm going to move on to the next caller. Sorry, callers in the background. Just be patient. We're going to try to get all of you through as fast as we can. Chase Haggard, go ahead when you're ready.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to echo something Andrew said earlier in the debate that we want you in engaging with these people. We want your platform to grow. We want you, someone who is not a total spurg, someone that is intelligent, to be fighting these battles with us. We want that. But I do have to, obviously I have disagreements, so I'm going to have to go in on those. So today is St. Patrick's Day in the Orthodox Church. St. Patrick was actually a slave to Druid priests and was told he should leave there and flee because he's stuck in a den of paganism. Yet he converted, by conservative estimate, by secular scholars, at least about 150,000 pagans. Should he have not engaged with them in their enemy territory, proselytizing to them?
I don't think I've ever said to not engage with the enemy or the people that don't believe what you believe in their territory. I'm not opposed to that.
I know that you say that, but the principle of other people being able to go and find their views or their content that is lewd and degenerate, that's the deterrent. But these people, by the same principle, they can just go talk to these pagans. If a Christian heard a saint talking to a pagan or an apostle talking to a pagan, they could go, well, pagan, what do you think? Well, yeah, I mean, going and doing these human sacrifices sounds pretty cool, and I found you because St. Paul talked to you.
Let's say any of the disciples let's take one of them, were in a building that had pagan people in it, let's say a bunch of prostitutes were in it, and they were speaking to them to convert to Christianity and to repent. But the person that owned the building that's there hosting this event says, hey, by the way, for everybody that's here, every man outside, here's the address to all of the prostitutes here. Don't you think the disciple would push back on that and say, hey, don't promote where they live, because I don't want these men to go and find them. Don't promote this lifestyle. We want them to repent. But don't tell all the guys listening in where they live so they can go and find them.
Well, there was just brothels there. Then they didn't even have addresses. So they could just go to the brothel.
It's a hypothetical question. It's a hypothetical question.
I know, but I'm just saying I'm fine with entertaining hypotheticals, right? Like if I didn't eat breakfast this morning, I would be pretty hungry. But the point is, I'm talking of using historical facts here. I got one more question and then one statement at the end.
Make
And
it
it'll
very
be done.
brief, very brief.
Yep. Two things. So one, you're not pro-choice, of course.
No, I'm not pro-choice.
You're not pro-choice. Are you pro Christians being outside of abortion clinics where they're advertising abortion and the address is right there and the building's right there and they're trying to stop women from getting abortions?
They're standing on public property to stand against it.
That's what Andrew's doing. One more thing, you said
That's not what Andrew's doing, though. That's not what Andrew's doing.
It's literally what he's doing. But one more thing, you said that
That's not what he's doing.
You said orthodoxy is false. I don't think you want to take this debate, but I'm happy to debate you about orthodoxy versus Protestantism anytime.
Okay.
Cool.
And I'm happy to reach out on that in a future debate if you'd like to come back, RC, if you feel like you've been treated fairly by the platform.
I don't think I've been treated unfairly.
Good. Well, I mean, I don't ever want a person to walk away feeling that way. I know that we had a contentious debate, but I think that those are healthy and good, and we should have more of them. Rachel, go ahead when you're ready.
Hi, my question was for RC. You said earlier in the debate something about like toxic patriarchy. I haven't heard that term. Can you tell me what toxic patriarchy is?
If I said that, I did not mean that. I don't even know in the context of why.
I can give you the context because I just watched it earlier while I was doing some debate research. I take every debate opponent very seriously. You ended your debate with Destiny. You said in a toxic patriarchy, the antidote is feminism. And we need to interject the antidote of feminism. And you were alluding to this because you were saying inside of the West, the antidote of feminism was already interjected. And so there's no reason to go any further with feminism. That's the context.
Okay. I think then, my position on it is if you're in a country that is literally limiting women to work or have a bank account, I think that there's some utility to feminism giving women the right to have a bank account. And I don't think I don't hear how you can make a Christian argument that women shouldn't be allowed to have a bank account. At one point in the United States, they weren't allowed to have a bank account. So I think there's some utility in it.
Do you know why they weren't allowed? Do you think it was just because the men were mean and didn't want them to have their own money? Or why do you think that was?
I think that they just weren't allowed to have a bank account because the men in power didn't allow them to have a bank account. And I push back on that. Let's allow them to have a bank account. Christianity is about freedom. And that's restricted.
No. First of all, where in the Bible does it say that Christianity is about freedom? And number two, the reason women couldn't have bank accounts is because they were not allowed to be legally held liable for debt because the lawmakers said that's the man's job. We're not going to hold a woman responsible for any kind of debt or bills or anything like that. That's on the man's shoulders.
So you don't think women should have bank accounts? Do you have a bank account, Rachel? Or do you let everything with your man?
Yeah, everything's with Andrew.
So you don't have a bank account?
No, I only joint accounts with him where I do what he tells me to do with the money. Is that not cards?
Which is to give it all to me, by the way. It's to give it all to me. I don't have
nothing, none of the assets are in my name, no, unless, he were to pass away or something in
okay, then if you live that way, fair enough. I don't think
but I'm just asking, are you saying that's fine, but what is this idea that we needed a little bit of feminism? Like so you want women to vote, I would guess.
I really don't like the term feminism. I think that in the United States, there should be equal opportunity and law should be equal for all races and all sexes.
So you would be for women voting?
I would be for women voting.
And you sell a book on how to end simping? You sell a book on how to end simping, but you're a women's rights advocate? You realize that giving women the vote is how we got legal abortion, the welfare state, all the things that limit freedom. You just said Christianity was about freedom.
Rachel,
letting women vote is the fastest way to lose your freedom.
I think pushing this idea, this very fringe concept that we should take away the amendment to allow women to vote is going to shy people away from the conservative movement. And you're just going to push more people to the left to vote.
What about my principles? What about my principles, though?
Yeah,
what about my principles?
What's wrong with women?
How are you going to stop simping if you're a women's liberation advocate? So you're basically saying you think Christians throughout history did the wrong thing until 100 years ago.
Where in Christianity can you anchor a biblical argument that women shouldn't be allowed to vote?
They're not even allowed to teach in church. They're not allowed to stand up in church. They must obey their husband. The entire thing is a patriarchal structure. I've already said this.
We live in the United States, which is not a Christian theocracy. Listen,
But
if you
you
want to look
said
at
rights come from God. You said rights come from God, not the government. So if you want to go by the rules God laid down, he said that women are not allowed to teach. They're supposed to cover their heads in the church, and they're supposed to be quiet and ask their husband if they have a question about the teachings of the Bible or the church. So why should we allow them to vote to make abortion legal, to give, gay rights, to have a welfare state, to limit the rights of others? By the way, you said, do you think the government can just take away your rights? Well, that's certainly what happened, 4 years ago, and women were on the front lines demanding that people cover their face and take certain medical interventions. So yeah, if you think Christianity is about freedom, you need to rethink that, because you're just contradicting yourself. That's all. And maybe don't sell a book on how to end the simp epidemic if you're a women's lib advocate. That's all I've got.
So saying that women can vote is being a simp. That's sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, feminism from the beginning has all been about, overthrowing God's natural order. I mean, it's from the beginning. Nothing about feminism was good. Okay, it's always been about overthrowing God's natural order.
I'll just leave you with one more thing. I'll send you a copy of my book, just because I think you probably just don't know, because most people don't know. But the first wave feminists that were responsible for the 19th Amendment, which would be Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony, they wrote their own version of the Bible called the Woman's Bible, where they took out all the patriarchal stuff they didn't like. They said that actually no man ever spoke to God, that the Mosaic Law was not delivered to man by God, and that Christianity was basically a fraud and a front for the evil patriarchy. So you should really brush up on some of the history, because I think you've just been spoon-fed a lot of lies.
Let him respond, and then we got to move to the next caller. Go ahead, RC.
Listen, Rachel, I'm not always right on everything. I'll be willing to read the book that you recommend, and perhaps it changes my mind on some things. But I still stand firm in my belief system. I do not think that it's Christian to say that women shouldn't be allowed to vote in the United States. I don't see how but perhaps I'll read your book and maybe my mind will get changed.
Well, we can only hope. Problem. Thank you so much. If you guys are wondering in the background about the order, I do give people who are cammed priority, and that's why we're not going by standard order. I always have done that. So if you want to get in faster, cam up. Based Oracle, you've been waiting patiently. Go ahead when you're ready. Thank you so much for your call in.
Hey, thank you, Glenn, Andrew, RC, for having this tonight. It was good. And RC, you'll be happy to hear Andrew's audience not a big fan of me. No, but really, this topic has been something on my mind quite a bit. I mean, just throughout time. Is it a net good or bad? And with that said, I think that Andrew made some very compelling arguments. If it already exists, why not utilize it to spread a good message? So my question is, with that said, I mean, and I mean this in all due respect, are you always pissy and emotional when you're responding?
Is that your question? I mean, is that a personal attack? No, I'm not.
No.
Okay.
No, what I meant is that you didn't really seem to follow the line of logic. It was more like, I'm kind of butthurt, ego, rather than getting to the points.
Okay. So the answer to your question is no.
So why did this bring that out of you then?
I don't think it did. You think it did. I disagree with you.
Make it quick. Make it quick, Based, so that he can respond. We can move to the next caller. Go ahead with the last.
I think that was his question.
All right.
Yeah, that was it.
Based Oracle, I really appreciate the call in. It's very kind of you to do so. We'll move on to the next caller. Well, yeah, I think that anybody who participates in dialogue who waits in the background to do so, I think that they're doing a service to the show. I would never take that away. Corinth, you've been waiting patiently in the background. Go ahead when you're ready. You look like a fucking hobo, by the way, but go ahead, man, whenever you're ready.
Sure. So first question is going to be, if we have 1,000 OnlyFans whores and each of them had 10 subscribers, would it be a better world if it was 10,000 men all subbing once, or 1,000 men subbing 10 times each?
Neither. They're both bad. So neither. I'm not going to play this game of which one's less bad. Let me ask you this. Is killing 1 million people to save 100 million good?
It's less bad.
No, that's equally as bad. They're both immoral.
No, it's less bad.
No,
it's
I'm
about
not going to. Oh, so
99
let's
million lives less bad.
Okay. See, that's just a weird subjective morality take that I'm not even going to engage
Well,
in.
I'm not sure. Well, wait, hang on. I'm not so sure. Like, we'll do the button scenario, right? If you had to push one button where 1 million died or one button where 100 million died, wouldn't you push the 1 million button?
I'm not pushing either button. I'm not.
No, you have to. You have to make the decision.
I'm not making that decision. They're both immoral. This game of which one's less bad, they're both immoral. People's lives, innocent lives, are being taken away. And I'm not going to play this game because that's subjective morality.
It's not subjective morality.
It is. You're trying to play, well, which one is more moral? They're both horrible. And I'm not
they are both horrible. It's a moral
What
tragedy.
if one of them was a group of OnlyFans models who was doing nothing but OnlyFans stuff? You're only going to kill the OnlyFans one.
I'm not killing anyone. You know that pro-abortion.
No one's killing anyone in this hypothetical, too.
Understand? Pro-abortion people make the argument: would you save 10 fetuses or one baby in a burning hospital? That's the same question you're asking.
That's not the same question.
It is.
It's asking about when moral value starts. This is a question of, does moral value, is it worse to kill 2 people for 1 person? Is it worse to kill 10 people for 1 person? Is 10 people subscribing to OnlyFans models better or worse than 1 person doing it 10 times?
They're both bad. I
agree. You think both are bad. Do you think that? Okay, so do you think stubbing your toe is good?
What?
Do you think stubbing your toe is good or bad?
I don't think it's a good or bad thing. I think it's an unfortunate thing.
Okay. Do you think hitting someone is good or bad?
Oh man, are you doing it in self-defense?
No, you're just going up to hit someone.
That's bad.
So since it's also bad to kill 100 million people, you think you can't choose between hitting someone to save 100 million people?
Sure, man, sure. I'd rather hit someone because their life is not ending versus killing 100 million people to save a billion.
So they're both bad, though. Yet you said you couldn't judge the 2 bad
I
things.
would strongly argue that causing short-term pain is way less bad than ending somebody's life. I would argue.
The extension of that would be, though, that then 100 million dying would be less bad than 1 million dying. That would be the same logical extension.
No, any one innocent life dying with any one innocent life dying is bad. Is equally as bad. Period. But Corin, to answer your question, 1 subscribing to 1,000 or 1,000 subscribing to 1, is that your question?
No, it's 1,000 subscribing to 1,000 or 1 subscribing to 1,000.
Well, okay. To be realistic, what Andrew's doing might have some utility to have less guys subscribe, but I think that the Red Pill podcast need to disintegrate and not exist at all. Because I think they're causing more net damage than they are net positive. But sure, to engage with the hypothetical, having less people subscribe to it and having more people turn to Christ is definitely better.
Perfect. So do you agree with ought implies can? Like if you ought to do something, you can do something?
In some instances, not necessarily in this instance because I'm not going to concede that it's good for Andrew all around to go on because I think it creates more net negative than it does net positive.
So you're just rejecting it because you understand that if you accept ought implies can, because Andrew can't just snap his fingers and delete all Red Pill podcasts,
right?
Then he should do what he can do. That's the only reason you're not accepting that.
Yeah, he can call out Brian at the whatever.
By the way, if I could snap my fingers, I would get rid of all of them. Just so you know. But anyway, Corin, thank you so much for the question. I really appreciate it. It's very kind of you to call in. Let me move on to the next caller. Appreciate that. Who else do we have back here? Mystery Meat, you've been waiting very patiently.
What a name, bro.
Hell of a name, Mystery Meat. Go ahead when you're ready.
I'm Australian too. You're going to love it. Anyway,
oh, man. No, I just got to kick you now.
Yeah, just kick me now. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, anyway, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, so, I mean, Grid already brought up the point I wanted to make, which I wanted to know if you'd watched the show at all. It seems like your argument is that the point of whatever is to promote OnlyFans, but they end up with literally hours of content with tons of views. Right? And the 7-hour podcasts aren't saying, go to this girl's OnlyFans. It's a 7-hour podcast about dunking on them, basically. So really, the point of the pictures is clickbait, but it's not clickbait to get people to watch the porn. It's clickbait to get people to watch porn creators get dunked on. I mean, if you look at the chat, that's what the majority of the chat is. They love it. That's why they love Andrew on there, because he dunked on the porn creators. And that's why Brian wants Andrew on the show, to dunk on the porn creators, because it's funny. It dismantles the ideology in an entertaining way. Right.
So what's your question?
Well, so I guess my question is, if you haven't watched the show, how do you know the point is to promote the OnlyFans, which you don't, obviously? So would you now then, I guess my real question is, now that you have been educated on the point of the whatever podcast, will you watch it? Or are you just going to never look at it because of the porn, the association with porn?
I think the way you're phrasing it could make it sound good and moral and just what's going on. But at the end of the day, the guys clicking in to watch are, a lot of these guys in the manosphere watching Red Pill are in pain, and they feel a sense of retribution when they see somebody like me or even Andrew dunking on these feminist ideologies. And they're like, finally, someone's debunking my enemy.
Exactly.
But if they don't turn their life to Christ and they keep watching Red Pill and follow the ideologies of Red Pill, they're going to end up simping those women, because one of the foundational beliefs of Red Pill, which Andrew and I think will agree, which is a prescriptor that's bad, is to the more women you sleep with, the more valuable you become. And the more they watch Red Pill, the more they're going to keep doing that. So just turn to Christ. You don't have to keep watching Red Pill. Sure, it's fun to watch them get debunked, but at the end of the day, it's a net positive for those women, more so than it is a net negative, and they're still benefiting more than they're losing.
Okay, so that's fair, but then I don't really understand your contention with the clickbait porn. Who cares? It's irrelevant to your point.
My contention with the clickbait porn, I think you mean my contention with the clickbait, like suggestive photos on the thumbnails. I think it's very clear that he could use any other thumbnail. The number one podcast in the world, I don't know if it still is, was a Joe Rogan podcast. He never had to put degenerate images or tag like porn stars in the bio to have the number one podcast. He brought on ideological discussions, and that's why it was the number one podcast. He didn't have to stoop to Brian's level.
No, he had name recognition before he did that, though. That's different.
He had some name recognition.
No, he had a lot of name recognition before. Like, that's it's a completely different scenario. A nobody that comes out of Santa Barbara, and Joe Rogan, who was known as a comedian, who was known as MMA, and an MMA fighter. He was a TV show host. Fear Factor. The guy had more name recognition than Brian.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he did. But it took him a while to gain the number one podcast spot. He didn't have it overnight. It took him like 10, 12 years.
He's had porn stars on many times.
Yeah, and I assume that
not only that, I can name them for you, and he does put their links down. And in this particular case, he does the exact same thing. He basically just links off to their Instagram or...
And I would disagree with that, but he didn't get famous off of bringing every week.
Yeah, but he still engages. He still engages. Number one podcast, and he still engages even with porn stars. But he didn't get to that spot
because of the porn stars.
Yeah, but what is the because? He got there because he had contentious views on his show, which he was willing to engage with.
Okay, and I disagree that he brought the porn stars on, and I think he definitely would have still got to the number one spot, minus you subtract out those porn stars.
Yeah, maybe, but he still brought them on.
And I disagree with him doing that. I don't justify it.
All right.
Yeah.
Mystery Meat, I appreciate the call in.
Cool.
I got to move on to the next caller. RC, I really appreciate you sticking around for the caller section. I have been in your exact position where it's caller after caller that I'm engaging with, so I don't feel bad for you at all, but I do appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Go ahead, Sirius Online, whenever you're ready.
Hey, guys.
This guy's a fan.
Great debate today. Very entertaining. I do have a question. Mostly, I want to start by saying that the girls on the Whatever podcast are easily the fifth most important people there. The first most important is the audience. I don't think that you're displaying principles when you're burning bridges and not expanding your reach. Yeah, there's multiple ways to do that, but it's not a principle to not meet people where they are. My biggest question is related to your collective plan, which I agree with, by the way. It would be ideal for all men to stop.
I agree, too. I agree with that, too. I think that's great.
But how are you going to do that? Where do you start if you don't have the collective already? Because the collective is against us. The most important part of the whatever podcast or anything like it is to expose incorrect egalitarian feminist worldviews that are held by idiots that can't justify them. So how do we get the collective?
You do what I've done. You can create a platform and stand against
but you
it.
yourself don't even trust your audience to not join these OnlyFans if they're so much is exposed to them.
There's over 200,000 people that follow me. Of course, I don't know every 200,000 of them. Of course, I don't want to look. I understand, right? As men, we're visual creatures, and if they see that type of content, there's going to be a temptation there. I don't even want to bring them to the temptation. I want it to be as far away as possible.
The
I
temptation
understand
is there regardless of your actions, though.
But I don't want to make it easy for them to find the content.
You're not making it easy. Like, how hard is it to write into Google like naked woman?
I don't want to make it easy to have my audience be subjected to it. I can't control what they do in their free time. I'm trying my best to principally show them, hey, I'm not going to engage with this. So I have a lot of temptation to, but I still choose not to.
Last point
too. I just think that if you had seen an entire, even of just one of Andrew's appearances on whatever, you would understand that what you're actually doing right now is bearing false witness.
Well, Sirius, I do appreciate the call in. I have to move on to the next caller. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. Have a wonderful day. And then last caller, been waiting patiently in the background, Revelator. Go ahead when you're ready.
Oh, hello. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, Andrew. It was a great debate. With RC, I just have a few questions. Right. So with Andrew, because your whole thing is that he cannot even engage with these people because, it promotes degeneracy, right? But it's like there are saints, like you know of Saint Vitalis, correct?
I don't. I'm not familiar with Saint Vitalis.
Saint Vitalis, I think Andrew might know who I'm talking about. He's the patron saint of prostitutes, I believe, in that form. And with him, he literally would go to these places, he would hire prostitutes, and he would bring them in, and instead of, he would preach the word to them. Would you have an issue with something like that?
To preach the word to the prostitutes?
Yes, because that's what he was doing.
No, I don't have an issue with that. Trying to turn them to Christ? No, I don't have an issue with
that.
that.
What is so different from that to what Andrew's doing?
Because in your hypothetical, this prostitute or these prostitutes you're speaking to doesn't have somebody behind them loudly shouting to the audience, here's where they live so you can go and find where she lives.
Again, though, when you say that, it doesn't make much of a difference to me. Because
you don't think that makes a difference?
No, and I'll explain.
Okay.
So the reason I explain is because it's like, again, we live in this society where porn and all this stuff is so easily accessible, as the last caller was saying. Literally, you don't have to look. It's in your face everywhere in that sense. It's not like how it was back then. It's everywhere. And I don't feel like, I feel like you're making a distinction here that has no basis in, like, example, as you were saying that, I'll debate someone even if they promote degeneracy 24/7, but if they have a link, then no. It's just a weird, line you just put there for no reason. And my other question is, do you think that what you're doing might actually bite you in the ass? And I'll explain. Because your thing is that with whatever podcast, I can't go on there because they have a link. Could that not be maybe a tactic of the devil to try and keep really, pious Christians from even going on that platform, that you, turn your nose and you're like, I won't even engage with it because it's too bad? Aren't you basically damning those people to hell in that sense? Not trying to give them the message in that sense?
I can go on the whatever podcast. I'll concede a bit ground where I said that I wouldn't even engage with someone if they had a link. I would engage one time and call them out for what they're doing, just like I would go on the whatever podcast one time, and I will call Brian out for what he's doing by profiting off of these porn star women that are advertising themselves on his show. I would call that out. I would still fight the good fight. I would still enter the enemy territory.
You're a super smart guy, right? I want to see you on these platforms 100 times. And if you could, hang on, let me finish. If you could do it where you could follow the kind of rules of the platform, what the format is, and still manage to get your messaging in and get invited back to do it to the next round and the next round, to reach out to people who have never seen anything like this before, doesn't that seem like a better tactic?
maybe to you, but not to me, because I'm going to remain principled. I do not like what the motivating factor for the whatever podcast or even Fresh and Fit podcast is. Their motivating factor is entertainment, money, and attention, which is the same reason the women go on the show. They're not there to help young men.
Hang on. I'm sorry to cut you off. I have to, though, real quick, because the infamous and wonderful Pedro, who was instrumental in the Crucible, just entered the chat. And can we get some crowns in chat for Pedro, one of my favorite human beings on planet Earth? I'm sorry to cut you off. I just don't see him in that much, so I just wanted to give that shout out. Go ahead, RC. I'm sorry.
That I think, I'm trying to remember where I was at, that the motivating factor, the end goal for these Red Pill podcasts is absolutely to generate as much money from their male audience by getting them to clickbait into their videos with the sexually suggestive photos, and then for those girls to gain as many subscribers to their OnlyFans counts as possible. And I think that these guys are acting as a pseudo digital porn, as a digital pimp to advertise these women. And I think that they both know it. The women know it, and the guys pretending to fight for the good fight know what they're doing as well. And I refuse to engage with that. I just refuse.
Last point, caller.
Yes, okay. So, funny enough, it's like, this is going to sound a little off topic, but I'll make it back. So, I basically play games professionally, a fighting game professionally, and I have a friend, and we're both trying to, and it feels like this weird dichotomy between you and him, in that I am like, the quickest way to get better is to partner with people who I don't necessarily agree with on everything, but I'll be friendly with them. I'm not going to like shit on them 24/7. I'll be friendly with them, play sets, gain experience, become better. And your thing is that I'm going to screw them all. They're not even worth my time. And I'm going to do the best I can just to get better by myself. It's like, yeah, both things will get you better, but one thing will get you better way quicker. It's way easier to yourself. And I just feel like in this situation, it's just like, I feel like it's just a big issue with pride, this principles. Because I don't understand the Bible where you cannot engage, because it's like this thing you added, it didn't exist when the Bible was going on. There wasn't that you could like pull a bullhorn and be like advertising, pornography. Like, if you were in a brothel, they'd do that the same way they would. It didn't exist back then.
Right.
So I just feel like with this, it's just an extra addition. And you're saying your principles, I don't know where your principles come from. Honestly.
I'm just saying, if you go back to those biblical times and somebody hosted a debate with the prostitutes at the time, and some Christian came in and said, hey, I want to speak truth to them so they can turn their life to Christ. And the guy hosting the event said to the crowd, hey, everybody, I'm going to show you the address where all these women live. Don't you think in that context, right, that the disciple would push back on the host and be like, hey, don't call out their address. I don't want the men in the audience to know where they live. Do you think he would push back or no?
I don't necessarily think so. Because, one, these prostitutes, probably everyone already knows where they live already, to a degree. This isn't like a global society. There probably was a prostitute that everyone knew, the red light district.
You gotta wrap it in like 10 seconds, bro. 10 seconds.
It makes no difference to me. But to me, it's very easy and ubiquitous. It's more that same. It makes no difference.
I'm going to call out the host for doing that. That's my position. You don't have to agree. That's my position.
All right. Appreciate the call in. We got through all of the callers. We managed to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I don't know, RC, are you able to stick around while I pull up some super chats? Or I know we've gone a little bit long.
I'll stay around for like 10 more minutes, but
Okay,
I do
then let me just let you go then. And go ahead and shout your well, I guess you don't want to do that. But if you want to, you still can. It's fine. There's not like... I don't have any pushback against you doing that. If you want to shout it out, go ahead.
I got a question for him, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to know. So, if I'm getting this right, you go into whatever podcast, and you want to yell at the host.
I don't want to yell at him.
Or you want to correct the host for his ways. Isn't that like going into your neighbor's house and telling them how to live in their own house?
No, because their house is not open for public debate. Their house is their private home.
That's their platform. That's their rules, their thing. Like, I'm just asking, isn't it like the same thing? Hey, I want you to invite me on so I can correct you.
Well, I told him my reason for going on. Like, he doesn't have to invite me on. I told him my reason. I think it would be worse if I pretended to be an ally and then I went on and then turned. I told him specifically why I wanted to go on, and he blocked me. So I don't think it's the same. I understand the analogy. I don't think it's the same thing, though.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
All right, RC.
That segment even for?
What's that?
How long is that super chat segment?
Oh, well, I mean, we got a lot of super chats that people want to engage with. So that's why that's why I asked. I want to be very respectful of your time as you took the time out this fine Sunday night. But, absent a shout out, is there any last words of wisdom that you wanted to give before me and Glenn engage with the super chats?
As I always say, I hope everybody turns to Christ. Always ask him for guidance. Pray to him and ask him to show himself in your life. And God bless.
Have a wonderful night, RC. Appreciate you coming on for this debate very much. Glenn, I don't know. Are you able to stick around, or do you have other things going on this evening?
I can stick around for a little bit, man.
Okay.
No problem.
Well, I'm going to get to these super chats here, of which there are many, which I appreciate. So, real quick.
That was expected.
yeah. Hope. Hang on a second, and let me get over to those. I don't know why. Oh, I know why it's not recorded. Okay, let me pull these up a different way. By the way, all of you out there in Crucible land, I hope that you enjoyed the debate tonight. Can we get some crowns in chat for Glenn Lawrence? You can check him out on his channel. Shout that out, Glenn, real quick. It was awful kind of you to come in and guest mod.
Shouting out my channel. I'm all about that stuff. You can find me at Glenn Lawrence _presents on here on YouTube. Hit me up on Twitter, Glenn or Mr. Glenn Lawrence. Yeah.
All right, I appreciate that. We're gonna try to kind of knock these out as quick as we can. We have quite a few of them to go to. Thank you again, audience. I know that you guys you like to support the Crucible, and it's very helpful that you do support the Crucible. $10 comes in from Just Say Something, who says, "Coming in late donation." Well, that's fair. $5 from Living, who says, "I agree with RC. Also, they always put the most provocative closest to the camera for a reason. Can you give them clout without showing everything?" And what did you have to say there, Glenn?
I just think, again, if you're going on someone's platform, they're playing by their rules. If you have a problem with their rules, then don't go on their platform. Just don't complain about it, though. Don't complain that they don't want to work with you. It's like me telling you, "Hey, Andrew, I'm going to tell you how I'm going to behave in your house. I'm not going to listen to your house rules. You're going to follow my rules for your house." To me, that's just kind of silly.
Well, I also think that the whole goal, and if you go to RC's channel, you'll see this too, he puts up his own provocative thumbnails. It's just from the opposite side of the ideology. And I think that the enemies of us would love to see that done away with altogether. So I think it's a double-edged sword, and you have to be really careful with it. $5 from the Powered Time Traveler. He says, "I found you, Andrew, through whatever. Your podcast and message has encouraged me to have strength in my relationship with God and walk the righteous path." Man, what a compliment. What a great compliment. I literally could not ask for a better compliment than that. Intel Wild sends in $5 and says, "This RightCorner guy should change his name to RightCoomer." Yeah, the feminism portion of that was wild to me, Glenn, just so you know.
I was trying to be quiet, especially when he brought up the Bible, and I was just sitting there like, the patriarchy is not Christian. Like, it just man.
Yeah, it's crazy. $5 comes in from Quasi. He says, "RC definitely didn't prep for this." I was surprised because he seemed like he really wanted to do a debate on this when he reached out. And here's the thing. Most people who reach out and say, I want to have this debate. You're wrong about blah. I'm like, well, let's do it, $5 comes in from Living, who says, "Yeah, why do you need OnlyFans girl debaters? Can you not debate women about OnlyFans?" Yeah, but that misses the point. Wouldn't you want to take the attack direct to the ideology and the people who adhere to the ideology, just like I did with RC tonight. Derek sends in $5 and he says, now I see why he smokes so many cigs. I had to light one myself. That's fair. That's fair. Living sends in $5, says, Andrew thinks listening to Destiny talk about gross things is the same as looking at OnlyFans half-nude panels of women. I most certainly do not. My whole point is to say that people who create the conditionals for which these types of things can exist in the first place are far worse than the people even engaging in them. And so I think that the line that's being drawn at the engagement of degeneracy is totally arbitrary, and it seems like it's pride-based, not logic-based. The unconventional man sends in $5 and says, I'm cool with men talking about D, but I draw the line at OnlyFans models, LOL. Yeah, that's fucking crazy to me. Sean,
I'm just thinking,
go ahead.
Like, don't you want to go into go into where the sinful people are? You go into the world and you meet them there. So if they're gonna have a bunch of nudity around, pray up. Get ready.
This guy says in chat, 20 faces, he says, Destiny didn't create porn. Neither did the people who participate in porn, dumbass. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. $5 comes in from Aries God, who says, the left has taken over by having a monopoly on conversations and representation. You will never win without challenging them in their own realm. Fucking great super chat. Loved it. Aries God, I couldn't, man, I can't agree with you more. Like I think you just kind of understand the position. Leon says maybe RC is a clout demon. He didn't seem like he was to me, to be fair. $5 from the unconventional man, who says, how can anyone watch Andrew and not want to grab a beer with him? They can't. Is that me promoting degeneracy? $5 from Living, who says, Andrew, that's not true at all. They link their link trees to their Twitters with literal porn, and I'm sure their OnlyFans are in the trees too. It's irrelevant, because that would mean anytime you platform anybody who links off to something else which is degenerate, you are responsible for doing that. It just seems really silly to me. Hang on. Leon sends in $5 and says, if RC is on our side to change culture, then we are doomed. I listen. There's hope for RC, and I think we can bring him around. I literally think we can bring him around. We just have to, keep working at it with good arguments, just like we do with everybody else. $5 comes in from Anonymous Coward, who says, having their names recognized is the price of entry for debating anyone. Exactly. It's just a Christ-pilled purity spiral from the right, just like leftists. Couldn't agree more. CHD says, why does no one tell me when Glenn is modding? I did tell people that Glenn was modding. And by the way, Crowns in chat for Glenn, he took almost no notice, and he just came on, and I thought he did a great job. It was a contentious debate, but I thought he did fine moving it back, and he didn't take no shit from nobody, which was great.
I was trying to just be quiet for the most part.
Michael Rutko sends in $5 and says, what would RC do if prostitutes that Jesus spoke to were advertising, which they were, and he even qualifies this with likely, when he went and spoke to them? Would Jesus be wrong for that? That's a great question. I wish he could have stuck around for Super Chats, guys. I'm sorry about that, but we went way over the allotment of time because so many people were interested in the debate. $20 from Jimmy Beans, who says, Andrew is the absolute GOAT. Makes whatever podcast significantly better and is dead nuts right on this. 304s would not be interested in even showing up, let alone debating, knowing they're likely going to lose. Joseph sends in $2, says nothing, just claps his hands. Appreciate that. $5 from America James, who says, what if I'm already looking up an OnlyFans girl and I see her getting destroyed by Andrew, which leads me to change my views on them because that was me. Whew. That's a hell of a thing there, Glenn, to say.
Yeah.
Honey sends in $5, says, we're literally listening to Dad tell his son that he's not mad, just disappointed. That's fucked up. $5 from Living, who says, I'm confident men who watch whatever pod love dunking on women and watching it, but then watching corn or their OnlyFans too. I think that there are some people who do, but overwhelmingly, I'm not sure about that. LV sends in $5 and says, RC, it's okay to be wrong. You're just stubborn as the OnlyFans girls. You sound crazy. Stop embarrassing yourself. Thank you for that super chat. Joseph sends in $5 and he says, reaching out shows spine. Very happy to have character like yours in my country. Appreciate that. $10 from FB and he says, it's not the dumb radical feminists he's worried about. It's the audience he's worried about. If he can reach the radical feminists, great, but it's not realistic. Exactly. The same reason I never thought it would be realistic to reach RC in a single debate. Never thought for a second that I would be able to just make him change his mind, which he didn't. But the key here is that hopefully much of his audience will. And that's the goal, right? If he did, that would be great. But, I didn't exactly hold out a ton of hope. $6.71 comes in from the Casman who says, RC, God told me in a vision not to listen to you and that you're wrong about everything. $5 from FB says, I think it's bad. God thinks it's bad. Right. The Unconventional Man, he says, this is not a debate. This is a father giving advice to his son. Man, that seems to be a theme. $5 from FB says, RB is coming on the Crucible for a self-serving agenda. He's trying to say that he is the good guy and not Andrew. It's pretty weak. Well, I don't know if I'm the good guy. Somebody said the other day it's an anti-hero. Right? Maybe that's true. I'm not fucking perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Not even close. $5 comes in from
anti-hero.
Yes, $5 comes in from Sep. He says, did Christ not go to secular places to gain followers? By his logic, Christ was self-serving. Right. $5 from Petrogard says, I have the right to turn right, even when I do not have the right of way. If I am on the right, which is the right view, point politically, right? So he's using the word concept fallacy to show the absurdity Petrogard is. That's pretty funny. FB for $5 says, and I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not overcome it. Matthew. Appreciate that. $20 from Joseph Newton. He says, 2,000 plus live viewers killing it. Appreciate that very much. And again, special thanks to Glenn Lawrence for coming in last minute to do that. We set the whole debate up just today. So $5 from FB who says, RC, you are view-shaming Andrew. J. William C. says, Brian has them on to reveal the actual state of our culture and to show clear examples of who to avoid for younger men. The thumbnails are for clicks. I actually tend to agree with this. $5 from FB says, what gives RC the right to count another man's bread? Christopher Alexander for $10 says, by even debating about the podcast, RC is promoting whatever by drawing attention to it. He said gasp. That's why I did that. Well, I say I hope he continues to clutch the pearl necklace. That's also a very good point. Contemporary Compendium says for $5, why is RC on the internet? It's a massive gateway to degeneracy. It's true. The Alswin Project says for $10, why are most of the Orthodox churches part of the World Council of Churches? The WCC promotes degenerate churches that defend the same ex-union female pastors' low view of Scripture. That's not true. $5 comes in from Von Rum, who says women shouldn't vote nor be forced to work. Modern society has shown us all of that was a mistake. Women having a choice collapse empires. $5 from Hammer Actual says a petulant piety signaling pillow biter needs to toughen up and have some introspection about his views. Also, I can't even read the rest. Huge $20 donation comes in from Olympia Marketing, who says whatever's 100% a net positive. Been working for years to get people like Andrew participating. Men need to understand the silliness, lack of intelligence, lack of time, horizon of women. $5 from FB says you can't expect everyone to create a platform. Not everyone is meant to be a content creator. This is a great point, by the way. Not everybody's meant to be a content creator. I never thought I was. $5 from Lester Diamond, who says, I'm in Philly. By RC logic, I'm going to tell all the Christians ministering here at the Heron camps to go home. Don't want to promote the drug spots. $5 from Jay William, who says, what RC is suffering from is pride, and that's a sin. I did find, I thought that I made way better arguments than he did. And I think he saw my viewpoint, but he was very stubborn about it. $5 from Von Rum says, people like RC are the reason why the left has gained so much ground in society. I agree. It's time for Christians to stop being passive and return to doing what we do best. Agree. Wicked Wally for $5 says, if there's one thing and this was debate was about, it definitely was about, whatever. $5 from Daniel says, hey, Andrew, I just wish to express my profound appreciation of your channel. Our channel would like to express a profound appreciation for each of you who come to watch the shows. We really appreciate it. $10 from No One to You says, it would really suck if Jesus said, I'm not going to meet those degenerates at their level. They're below me. Agreed. Thomas O'Brien says, I'm sure people possessed are grateful that the priest performing the exorcism doesn't share the same view as RC. Whew. That's a killer point, Thomas. I'm going to have to remember that. $10 from Kevin Bryan. He says, it seemed like PC thought he already was entertaining the world by just being on social media. Andrew takes it a step further by invading the strongholds of the degens on social media. I do. We've always done that from day one. We always have. And we're basically always going to. Juxtapose says for $10, if I argued if I were a green EJ fighting the barbarians, I would not wait for them to get to our base. I'd fight them on their own land. We just know what it is to know what should. Glenn, what do you think there? That's a great point. Fight them on their turf, right?
Yeah, you bring the fight to them.
Right, I agree. Hang on one second. Dirty Mike and the boys sends in $5, says, regarding your position on Sola Scriptura, why is the church the default authority with the correct interpretation of the Bible? Curious, thank you. Due to ecclesiastical authority and who Jesus Christ empowered to take that position, that's how you know that they're correct. That would be the answer to the question. If you want to know more on that, Jay Dyer has extensive videos on it. Now, I got to move over to the Dono chat. Glenn, we're still not done. We still have more super chats to go through. Now over on the Dono chat side of things. Real quick, guys, I'm sorry. There was a whole bunch of them that came in, so I want to make sure I read all of them. Okay, where do we start here? Let's see. Moving backwards. Okay, this is all, from... All right. Sorry, guys, I'm just finding my spot here. Okay. $10 comes in from Critical Thinker, says, looking forward to seeing you on Fresh and Fit. Lots of very helpful content. Thank you so much. Also, will streams be re-uploaded like the trash talk from yesterday? EU time sucks. We're going to be launching our website soon. All members can divert their memberships from YouTube over to the website. And that will give you access to all of our back catalog. $50 comes in from Grid One Motorsports, who says, here's a $50 for the travel fund, bruh. Thank you very much, Grid One. $100 comes in from Tickets, who says, hey, Andrew, love the channel. You've made my life better. Please keep it up. Thanks a bunch. Hey, thank you, man. A huge donation. Crowns in chat for Tickets. Tickets, please. $10 from Anonymous says, failed TikToker telling successful YouTuber how things should be done. Well, I'm not going to make that claim. $5 from Smoking Patriot says, keep that pack filled. Appreciate it. $10 from So Erudite says, it was a cool tactic to ask him to steelman the question you asked him. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. $5 from Stop Simping says, call him out, Andrew. Logic hurts. I feel like I did. $5 from Blue Skittle says, didn't he just say he DM'd Brian to get on the show? Yes. Yes. $5 from Anonymous, who says, not saying I disagree with your overall position, but where would you draw the line, Andrew? Hypothetically, would you show up on a podcast where all the women were naked? I would not. The reason I would make that delineation is because I'm happily married, and that I think that would cross the Rubicon for me. However, I would understand if other people who wanted to make a promotion towards Christianity went to a place where that was commonplace in order to preach the gospel, especially considering that in early eras, they did just that in front of naked natives all the time. Let's see. $10 comes in from Tyrannical. Says he's an actual child. Christians used to meet their enemies on the battlefield. He won't even face them on a webcam. Yeah, I mean, and we could use everybody like that. $5 from Justice. No message entered. Just wanted to show support for the stream. Sends in another $5 and says, speaking logically with passion, we appreciate it. Piety signaling is cringe. Tend to agree. $20 from Lepur. Says, Andrew is the GOAT. He makes the Whatever podcast significantly better and is dead to rights on this. 304s won't even show up, let alone debate in the convos. They're aware they're going to lose. Right. Absent promotion, I don't think they would. $10 from the Road to Theosis. It boils down to a lack of faith in the power of the message. The cross wins over social media links any day. Being so principled that you don't even debate the message is ludicrous. Tend to agree. $5 more comes in from Lepore, who says, I've been a devout Christian my whole life. I've recently found the Whatever podcast and found Andrew through it. If the 304 links weren't there, likely he wouldn't be either, and I never would have found him. Great testimony. $10 from Dark Horse says, great debate. He reminded me of the two Christian girls on Whatever. Yeah, I did draw that comparison. Bobby C. says, for $10, after watching the exchange, I have so much clearer understanding of the term headcanon. Right. $10 from Tucker Tales with Dan. If Brian told the girls that they weren't allowed to say their name on Instagram, there would be a 100% flake rate. You have to play the game just a little to get the message out there. There's no choice. Huge $50 donation comes in from Nick. No message entered. Just wanted to show support for the stream. Thank you so much, Nick. $10 from Tyrannical says, honestly, feel like you should leave this debate on the main channel. We are. Great example of a way to argue against terrible Christians. $10 from Wilhelm Bones. No message entered. Just wanted to show support for the stream. $20 from Guy You Swipe Left On says, this is a debate that was very necessary to have. We Protestants have so much to learn about submission to authority. The devil has to find a way to silence the Protestant voice. Pride was his answer. Man, powerful. $50 from Black Flame Nova says, I guess God didn't want his apostles to go spread the word to sinners. Guess Christ wasn't supposed to dine with prostitutes and tax collectors. It's insanity. Thank you, by the way, for the huge $50 donation. $10 from Dr. Chillin. Hey, sexy, how do we watch these when finished? You're going to have to become a member on the site. Where do you re-upload? Going to have to become a member on the site. Also, I know this is off topic. Hard to catch you live from Australia. Any good secular arguments against the L's and the G's? Yes, and you'll be able to catch all of that. Zen Shapiro makes some of the finest secular arguments you've ever heard, and you'll be able to find that on the Crucible's website. $10 from Joberly, who says, could it be this belief for you? How do you know God has not called Andrew to do the shows? Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? St. Paul was basically preaching in brothels. $4 from Ken Selection says, Nala was on Whatever with you and allegedly deleted her OnlyFans. Maybe you can inquisition the truth of that. Also, Ken Selection is globally unattractive. Another huge $50 donation comes in from Ghost Doc 80. Says, for the travel fund, good luck on Fresh and Fit. Really appreciate that. $5 comes in from Corn Pop was a bad dude. Another reason to go into the Whatever podcast is converting these women to Christianity, which has already happened. Seemingly it has. $10 from Alejandro says, hypothetical, if you knew appearances on Whatever prevented you from max reach like going on Rogan, are you maximizing utility? For me, it's not about maximizing utility. I cannot prophetically determine the future. For me, it's about trying to position myself the best way that I possibly can with the tools that I have at my disposal to make the best impact I possibly can. $10 comes in from S-Dude, who says, didn't Jesus go to prostitutes and basically say, hey, prostitutes, I love you, but stop being prostitutes? Yeah. $5 from Blue Skittle, who says, be right back, getting advice from my sleep paralysis demon. I mean, God. Appreciate that very much. Now, I do have to pop back over here Glenn, thank you so much for sticking around for all the super chats. And I want to give you a good chance to shout your channel out to everybody where they can find you if they want to hear more from Glenn Lawrence, who now is entering into the moderator sphere, which is interesting. But go ahead, man.
Yeah, so thank you, Andrew, for having me on. I'd love to participate as your moderator. You guys can find me at Glenn Lawrence Presents on YouTube or my Twitter at Mr. Glenn Lawrence. I recently just did a 3.5-hour video breaking down the Pearl and Michael Knowles debate. So that's out right now. So that's pretty cool. You guys want to check that out. I was there, so I actually know a little bit more about the debate than most people do and behind the scenes. So please go check that out. Enjoy the video. Tell me what you think about it. And again, Andrew, thank you for having me on. Appreciate it, bud.
Well, you have a good evening. Mr. Lawrence, and good luck to you in all of your future endeavors.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Bye.
Now, I did miss one super chat. It says RC is on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, etc. There's plenty of degeneracy on these large platforms. Why not go all the way and just log off? Stop sharing platforms with degens, RC. Yeah, it's fucking crazy to me. The whole thing is insanity, honestly. From my perspective, it's a crazy position. Now, I'm going to add all of these donos up on the dono bar tomorrow when I cover the Michael Knowles Pearl Davis. I was going to do that today, but then the debate came up, and I'm always one for a good blood sport debate. From all of us here at the Crucible to all of you out there in Crucible land, thank you so much for the support. And have a wonderful night.